Now we can preamble.
Ramble a preamble.
Or Preamble.
Anybody have any existing theories on what the naps mean?
I want to hear your theory.
No, at this point I'm just going to come up with something.
Oh, man.
What do you mean what the naps mean?
Do you even understand what the naps are, Christian?
The naps?
Just check the
even
the
been paying
pins in
attention.
podcast.
I saw you said 6 naps. Did I miss something?
Yeah, apparently it's in reference to something I posted 3 months ago. And I said 7 naps and pinned it with no context and told I have no idea why.
And so he's like, I'm sorry. And then you were like, I'm sorry, I'm going to try and be there. And then he put 6 naps. And I laughed so hard, I hurt myself.
It's slowly counting down the number of naps.
I think apparently you have 6 naps left. That's all there is.
Austin is the naptress.
So please submit your theories on what the naps mean.
Man.
Ho ho ho, and everyone, welcome back to the Game Boys Live podcast. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Darlin. Forgive him, he is choking. And then I'm joined by Christian.
Bonjour, mon amis.
Mon ami indeed. I am confident this is not French, but oh well. Today we are talking about Clair Obscure.
I just think that if we were being authentic, we would need to talk in British accents and then say it was French, like this game does.
Well, we can do that as we go
Oh, just from now on.
Hello, mon ami.
for the parts that come after.
Alright, this is very French right now. Did that bother anyone else? Sorry, I know we're gonna dig into it, but like, I got used to it. But they're like, this is definitely, like, the opening shot of the game is like a deformed Eiffel Tower, and then these very British people start speaking, like, immediately.
Oh, yeah. I was so confused.
I mean, at least it's European.
I mean, yeah, sure, I guess. On a side note, my best French impression is just the French peas from VeggieTales, you know? Yeah.
I love those peas.
I am sorry for anybody French watching, but we are not good at French.
It's plain to see your brains are very small, so keep walking. You're not knocking down our wall.
Oh, well.
Okay, I've digressed this enough. I'm sorry.
Yes. Anyway, so yeah, Clair Obscure Expedition 33. What were your first impressions of this game when we first dived in?
Okay, yeah, I mean, okay, so amazing. The reason we started playing this game is I think I saw a trailer like the day it came out randomly. You know, I saw nothing about this before. I was not there for the hype. And I saw a trailer and I was like, yep, we gotta buy this. And then me being the spendthrift that I am, I messaged y'all and was like, y'all want to go in on this for me? Because I'll probably buy it on my own, but I think it's cool enough looking that I convinced y'all to go thirdsies with me for the Steam Family Library. And I was right. So... yeah, my first thought was, this is beautiful. This looks amazing. It's, yeah, I don't want to get too hyped, but, like, this looks like, well, the Final Fantasy that I had been wanting for, oh gosh, like 2.5 decades now, please. So, yeah, it's a lot of expectations to put on a game, but my first impressions were like, yeah, this is going to be good. And I know we're going to talk about it, but that opening line, you know, that Maelle says, you know, it's better to give a, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, it's, you know, it's better to give a rose before it's, to a person before it's withered, and hey, do you mean the rose or do you mean the person, Sophie? And I was like, yep, this is gonna be good.
It's best to give somebody flowers before they wither and die.
Do you mean do you mean the rose or Sophie? You said it, not me.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah, that's, I knew from that opening, I was like, yep. So that was my first impression, was literally first impression. I was like, this is gonna be amazing. Was not disappointed.
Yeah, my first exposure to it was just on my usual doom scrolling expedition before sleep. Just scrolled through Facebook and was like, da-da-da. I'm like, oh, more game articles are posting stuff. And it's like, everyone's talking about, like, turn-based RPGs are back. And it's like, world map is back. I'm like, haven't heard anything about that in a long time. And I just kept scrolling. Another day later, it's like more talk about it. I'm like, I have never heard of this game, never saw a trailer, and everybody's talking about it like some legendary thing. I'm kind of curious about this. And then that's when I got your message. Hey, French game, want to go in? I was like, why not? Everyone else is already talking about it. Might as well be hip, I guess. And, instantly was hooked.
Yeah.
What about you, Christian?
So I hadn't seen anything, I hadn't heard anything until Dolan sent, hey, you want to go halvesies or thirdsies with me? And he sent the trailer, and I watched it, and I was like, sure. I haven't played a new game in such a long time. Let's go for it. It's not $80, so let's go for it.
My favorite thing. Yeah, it's a lot easier when it was like 15 each or something like that. Like, it was way more. And my favorite thing was I got the Venmo from my sister, your wife, and it just said Christian's French game ? That was the Venmo thing. It was really funny.
Well, like I was telling her about the game, and she was like, "How do I spell that?" And so I said, "Just say French game. Just say it's the French game, and he'll know what it means."
Yeah. She just put it like a question mark. I could hear. She was like, "Okay, you psychopath." But yeah.
With that, just diving into the game. So it seems like both of you watched the trailer. I did not watch a trailer going into this game.
That was so funny.
Which is pretty funny when I was getting into Act 1.
Because
we're going through the whole situation where you go meeting everybody, going through the whole gamage scene. And I'm just sitting there like, I have no idea what's going on. What does any of this mean? But if I had just either read the store page or watched the trailer, it would have at least gave the premise of, the paintress is painting a number every year, and people are gamaging and setting the new max age. Yeah, I had none of that knowledge going in, so I was just extra confused trying to put the pieces together.
It was so funny, because you watched that scene, and then I basically just explained, like, I hadn't even played it yet, but I basically read you, like, the description. You're like, that makes that scene make a lot more sense. It just drops you right in. Yeah, there's not a lot of preamble, is there?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you can mostly piece together things. I mean, I talked to almost everybody. There were some conversation pieces that I missed. But I mean, I kind of gathered, like, okay, yeah, something's going on with the numbers, something bad's going to happen to a lot of people, people are going to die. I just didn't get, like, the general specifics of everything until I got that synopsis.
Speaking of, you talked to nearly everyone, one of my favorite things was you were a lot ahead of me. I think the finish order was, like, Austin, I barely finished before you, Christian, by, like, a day or something like that. But Austin had, like, beaten the game twice before I got to the end, I think. And you were watching me...
I think before you even started?
Maybe. No, I had started a little bit. I don't know. But anyway, because I had so many technical difficulties because I was getting a new computer at the time. I think was a big part of it. Near the intro, I was, like, talking everything. I was checking every trash can. You're like, oh my gosh, you were, like, being autistic about these trash cans. And I'm like, hey, man, games have taught me. And then I got to the trash can man who's like, hey, if you keep checking it again and again, he's like, hey, get out of here. You're gonna blow my cover. And Austin was like, I cannot believe that your stupid trash can picking paid off, actually, because you would miss that guy. This game's full of wonderful little moments like that.
I missed that guy, and I missed the mime,
Yeah.
and I'm really sad that I missed the mime.
Which is
because he drops a music disc that you need for 100% completion. However, I need to verify this, but this won't spoil anything. I am pretty sure that at a much later point in the game, that same music disc drops somewhere else.
Oh.
So I don't think you can actually soft lock yourself out of the music disc if you forget the mime.
Awesome.
I think. But there's still the achievement of the peculiar encounter, I guess, the point's moot.
Yeah, it's so out of pocket finding that mime, because you're, like, just walking through the town, and it's like, oh, look, a friendly mime. This will be
It's a
interesting.
robot.
Let's go talk to him. Yeah. Let's go talk to this guy and see what piece of lore this has. And it turns out to be your first real fight of the game if you find him.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something about the trash can guy, but I'll save it for later.
Okay.
I'll save it. I'll throw it into the fun facts section.
I got a question, and Austin, I may be stepping on your toes, but I do want, you can talk about this later, but did that first scene hit y'all pretty hard, despite not, like, for me, getting 30 minutes with Sophie before she fades away made her more than, like, just... I've talked about this a billion times, but I have a problem with The Last of Us. I think they do not spend enough time with Joel's daughter before they kill her, so she just feels like a set piece and not like a character to me. But we got just enough time with Sophie that, at least for my brain, it clicked over into, like, oh, she's a person, and then I don't know, it got me in the feels, despite it being such a, early moment in the game.
I totally agree with you on that. Sorry, go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the overall intro was really, really good. It was, like, Sophie was a piece of that, but, like, being able to talk to everybody, and I think the biggest piece of it was actually Gustav himself. Because seeing, like, Gustav interacting with all the different people, Gustav being the based person that he is, with how he deals with different people in different states of, like, how they're dealing with the Gamage. Like, my mind always goes to the drunk guy who's, like, just avoiding his daughter during the whole Gamage, during this whole thing. And Gustav just gets on his case about it. It's like, maybe you should be with her then.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about all of those, like, all of these people they interact with, and then having the Gamage happen, all the kids being left alone, Gustav losing Sophie, just all of that together, especially with the music in the background. Music is always the biggest modifier when it comes to how I feel about certain scenes, when it comes to, like, strictly emotional, because music is a great emotional conveyor. But all of that combined together was put together probably one of the best video game intros of all time.
I was just saying that, oh yeah, that intro is just so well done. Like you said, you can literally be dropped in the game without having looked at any information, and yes, it takes a minute for you to fully pick up on the details of everything that's going on, but you enter the game and it's just such a beautiful world just from that intro with the flowers and getting to walk through the streets of Lumière. Like, it's very well done. The music's incredible. I would 100% agree with Austin. It may be the best video game intro I've ever played. I'd have to think on that a little more, but it's definitely one of the best.
I think what's amazing also is it hits you with the 1-2 punch really quick. This game, we're gonna get into that, has, like, no fat on it. It is just, like, all meat, right? Because immediately after that heart-wrenchingly beautiful scene is, like, I guess it's not immediately, you get a little bit of a cooldown where they get ready to go, but almost immediately is one of the most gut punch devastating, because you're like, yeah, this paintress sucks, she's killing all her friends, and we're gonna, you got that William Wallace, and we're gonna fight for our freedom! Poof, Rinrar. And just...
Yep.
Everyone. I mean, Austin, what did you think? You've told me that's one of your favorite scenes, right? What's your, how did you feel going from that one scene to the other? Because it was just like gut punch after gut punch, and I was like, this game is just an emotional roller coaster, man.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome in my taste. So, like, if you get all the landing, we get the really ominous fog and the dark coloration. It's like, ooh, wherever this island is gonna have a lot of dangerous things. And what I really love about when Renmar shows up is the sound effect that plays for his cane. Just like the ominous couple tapping that happens. It's like, uh-oh, what's approaching? Huh, an old man. That's very interesting. Mm-hmm. And then proceeds to instantly decapitate the guy in front, set off, and then everything starts blowing up. And then creepy finger monsters start showing up, and everybody is dying. And then there's a special little thing that you can catch in the chaos if you know what you're looking for. a character shows up, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, just the absolute carnage of just being like thrown in was very nice. Instead of like usual adventure games, you're like, okay, welcome to our first combat. Everything is going to be a little bit chill. Well, you're going to fight a rat. We're gonna fight rats, and that's how we get our adventure started. No, D-Day. That is how you're getting started. It's like, oh, okay, that's this kind of game.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that wasn't hooked by that first hour, right? That's played it. Like, everyone is just like, yep, I'm here. Very similar to a lot of people bring it up, but like, the reactor mission from Final Fantasy VII. It's just, bam, you're there. We've got your mystery, we've got your intrigue, we've got your action. Like, it just lays it all out there. It is one of the best intros to a game ever. What's interesting about it, to me at least, is because Austin, you, I don't think have really gotten into turn-based games, right? Which is one of the big selling points of this, is it's kind of in the style of classical RPGs. But despite the bombastic, throw you in the deep end kind of story, I feel like gameplay-wise, it does a pretty good job of kind of like easing you in. You two both, I guess we should ask Christian maybe first, because I've talked to Zeroff, but he got disconnected. But Christian, you haven't played a lot of turn-based games either. I've played a lot of these, so it's very familiar territory, but like, as genre that's new to y'all, did you guys feel like it did a good job of teaching you and not like overwhelming you, despite it being such a hard-hitting intro?
Oh, yeah, I would definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, I played Pokemon.
We all have
turn-based. That's about as turn-based as I got. I never really got into any of like the art, like the turn-based RPGs or anything like that. Aside from Pokemon when I was a kid, so this was definitely a new gameplay style for me. But I feel like they, with the intro and the, hey, let's duel, like, all of the things that kind of led you in and slowly eased you into the different ways to, different combat style, I felt like it was very, very well done, so that even people that had no idea what they're doing, never had any experience with turn-based games, could pick up on, okay, this is what we're doing, this is how parry it. So
yeah,
it was, and I love, one thing that I love about is turn-based, and again, I have no idea how other turn-based games are, but I loved the like quick time part of it. So like, it wasn't just click a move, okay, sit and wait for your next turn. Like, you can parry, you can dodge. There's like the quick time, press A. If you miss it, then part of the move doesn't happen, or or there's less of a chance of getting a critical hit on it. So I thought it was a really fun way to do turn-based compared to Pokemon.
Well, that's not a high bar.
Oh.
Yeah.
But in regards to my turn-based thing, I played Pokemon when I was younger. I'm sure that I probably dabbled in some turn-based when I was a kid. I can't recall what any of them are, but I mean, I played a handful of different like old Game Boy games and some old console games that probably had a turn-based, but I never played one to completion. I wouldn't consider KOTOR counting in that particular category.
It's more MMO-like, is what I call those.
Yeah, more like strategy-ish kind of thing. Similar, whatever Baldur's Gate's kind of closer to.
Xenoblade, Baldur's Gate, FF12, kind of that vibe.
Yeah. But the main time where I started getting really into like, I'm having a fun time with turn-based was when I got into mobile games.
Yeah.
My first main mobile game was Final Fantasy Dissidia Opera Omnia. I adored the turn-based combat in that game. It was top-notch for quite a long time before it shut down. And then I got into like Honkai Star Rail, which is also turn-based. Like, I always like having a turn-based game to play at this point, because it's an itch that I like to scratch every so often in the background. It's a good genre. I should play more. But getting to Clair Obscure, it's like, man, this is like combining what I liked about Dissidia Opera Omnia turn-based, and then adding a little dash of Devil May Cry on it. It's like, you can never go wrong when you sprinkle some Devil May Cry on things. So it was great. It definitely really did a good job easing you in, as you're mentioning, because it just like, even like when you're reaching towards the end of the game, it's like, okay, well now we'll add this mechanic onto it. Like it slowly just keeps compounding onto its gameplay systems until the very end, and then pretty much like once you're at the very end, it's like, okay, go crazy at this point. Now that you've had enough time to get used to this quick time event, now we'll introduce this quick time event and this kind of attacks and stuff, and it did a really good job. If anything, it might be a little slow into it. Like, maybe I wish I had everything before the end of Act 2, but regardless, it was still good. It wasn't, like, too much ever.
Yeah. That's a bit of a JRPG staple, is that you tend... It's like, oh, the combat system finally got ready about 10 hours before the game ends. It feels like it sometimes.
Yeah, so, I mean, as we get into, the main meat of the section for Act 1, we had a few worlds they get to go and explore. We had the Spring Meadows, where we ended up landing up. We have the Floating Waters, which is a very unique environment.
My favorite.
Kind of looking like you're walking in an ocean, but there's no water. How are we breathing? What are the fish breathing? Questions we'll never know. Thank you, French.
It's my favorite battle theme there, by the way. I know people disagree, but that's normal battle theme.
It's definitely the most unique.
Mm-hmm.
The music of that world is the most unique.
Yeah.
I know the composer had a lot of fun with just putting weird things. There's one track, and I'll give it credit, but there's one track that I don't like listening to because it's very unsettling to me. But I think it's because it might be the point. It's kind of like the one where it almost sounds like a distant siren is playing in the background as you're just open exploring in Floating Waters. That bothers me. I don't know why, but I feel very uneasy roaming that area because of that track.
Yeah.
Good job on the composer for that, though. It does have some good music, especially Goblo's, or Goblu, whatever you want to pronounce that guy's name. He had a good boss track.
Oh, yeah. That was a good
Did
one.
anyone else think that was definitely Sophie turned into a Nevron, and that when people got Gommage, they turned into Nevrons? Or was that just me?
A little bit.
That was just
me? Okay.
maybe.
I
I did
thought
not think
that-
that in the slightest.
It crossed my mind.
Because of all the they make such a big deal about her ring of flowers, and that boss comes out with a ring of flowers. And I was like, what's the connection? Turns out nothing. It's one of the few things that just...
I just thought it was like a trap.
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking for the connections, and there were a lot of connections, just that wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Just
'Cause-
not the right connection.
I mean, Lune even says, it didn't jump out until you touched the flower.
Yeah.
So I feel like they had thought about doing something different, or I feel like there's some additional backstory to Goblu, or however you pronounce his name, that we don't know.
Yeah.
Why do they like flowers? Is it maybe it's just to communicate
I'll
that?
talk about that later. I have ideas that I can't talk about yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, as we're going through all of these worlds, including we have thinking about it, Act 1 actually has a lot more worlds, and I think they're just kind of quick if you run through them. But you also have the Gestral Village world.
Central.
You have the Stonewave Cliffs. You have the Yellow Forest. You have Esquia's Cave. We get all that stuff in Act 1 in that playground, and then we get to have some of the open map and camp. I'll start with Christian. What were your kind of some of your favorite moments in Act 1?
I mean, Gestral Village was peak. I mean, the memes that came out of the Gestral Village, plus just the Gestrals in general, are just such a fun people. I felt like every conversation you have with the Gestrals is enjoyable. I think the best thing is the Gestral that's on fire.
This is fine.
And this is fine. And that's all he says.
I think my favorite's Let's Dance.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that
Then
one.
the breakdancing cat meme.
That was such a
man.
recent meme, too. I mean, comparatively.
Yeah. That was so good. I mean, I feel like a majority of like my favorite moments from Act 1 are the Gestral Village. Like I'm trying to think of anything that's outside of the Gestral Village.
I can tell you my favorite that's outside of Gestral Village.
Okay.
Go for it.
It's gotta be Esquier and Francois's cave. Their whole interaction is amazing, which is right after the Gestral Village, so I guess it kind of feels like it's the same thing. But it's not even them. My favorite is, as you're playing the game, you find these little notes of the expeditions that went before you, and the one in Esquier's cave is like, "Damn it, Esquier! You fed us poisonous mushrooms. You said your friend loved these mushrooms, but you forgot to mention that they're poisonous and he's immortal. Oh, stop crying. You're not the one that's about to die. Bloody hell, we haven't accomplished anything." Great. And now I'm going and like I cried. I laughed so hard I cried at that point. It's so funny, dude.
Just going off of that cave, some of my favorite moments in there is still just, I love the little like joke on like how typical fetch quests go. When you show up to Esky, it's like, "Oh, I need you to get my rock." I don't remember, I think it was like Flore or I think Flore or something. It's like, "I just need to get it from the horrible, the vile Francois." It's like Gustav's like, "Oh, let me guess. It's just he's sitting in deep in Nevron infested territory." "No, he's just right over there."
That was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll go do that then.
Man.
And you get there, it's just some cranky old guy personality as a turtle of a guy who can't move. Get off my lawn.
Yeah. Oh man. You know, we're talking about the funny moments, and those are very important, and I know we don't want to do a recap, but I do think it's worth bringing up. One of my other favorite moments, right, is after they get blasted on the beach, right, by Renoir, though they don't know that's him. They're like, "This is an old man. How is he old? No one can be old because of the gommage," right? And Gustav's devastated, nearly kills himself. Lune, like, talks him down, basically, because, again, he saw his friends die. And then pretty soon after that, they have that conversation that I think is one of the best showcases of the character's personality. Well, there's a bunch of them, but this is one of the best ones, right? Where he's like, we need to go get Maelle. And she's like, "We've got a mission. There's protocol." And he's like, "Fuck the protocol," basically. But they have this debate that I kind of thought was just like, "Oh, this is a nice moment showing the characters," but turned out to be way bigger that I wanted to draw attention to, which is that, when one falls, we carry on, because the needs of the many outweigh. They say differently, but the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, basically, right? And do you still believe that? Mm-hmm. And there's a back and forth, because I just thought that was a neat bit of character development where you kind of see that Gustav is not willing to sacrifice one person for the sake of, saving everyone. He's the type of hero, he's the type of person who's going to try and find that third way where we're not sacrificing the one or the many, if at all possible. And even if it's a long shot, he's gonna try and throw away the dichotomy and go for the best. Even if it's a slow percentage, he's gonna go for the best possible outcome. At least that's the type of character he feels like to me. And seeing him reject that sort of dichotomy that Lune, who's a very logical person, who's running the numbers, is trying to put onto him, I think says so much more about his character than maybe anything else in the entire rest of the game, about the type of person he is and about the type of world they're in. And I just want to draw attention to that. Obviously, you've all seen the game, but I thought that was neat the first time, and when I saw it kind of again after knowing things about Act 2 and Act 3, I realized how clever a bit of writing that was. And I wanted to bring that up as a favorite moment, kind of seeing how much character development and foreshadowing they managed to pack into such a tight little scene.
Mm-hmm.
Man, sorry.
And one of the last things I'll mention about Act 1 is like some of the characters that we get and like the mechanics that we get introduced to. I really like how instead of having like a really large cast of like characters with the different abilities and personality quirks, like games like Final Fantasy, you get typically a fairly large roster of party characters that you get to choose from.
As a Final Fantasy buff, I'll actually say about 5 is about right for a lot of them. Maybe 7 max. 6 is weird. 6 is the only classic one I've had you play. But yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, what I still like about it is, like, don't necessarily always have like a large cast or even like a large party that you can have on the field at a time, but each character plays so uniquely that it is almost like its own game at a certain point. And then trying to have fun meshing all of those unique puzzles together to come up with interesting combos is a really good time. I ended up defaulting into like a solo fighter run pretty early on when I found stuff in the secret Gestral arena by the Gestral village, and I really liked how Maelle fought so much with the stance system that pretty much most of the time until a certain point Maelle just was my frontline fighter, and I didn't like Sciel's playstyle as much until much later on.
I saw Sciel and like immediately was like, yep, I'm gonna figure her out. Like I got hyped as soon as with her cards, I was like, I don't understand this, which means I like it. Christian, who was your early kind of MVP character?
Early on, so at least in Act 1, my main team was Gustav, Maelle, and Lune.
Yeah.
That was like my main 3.
Yeah.
And I just kind of put Sciel on the back burner because, you know, cards can't really figure it out. I didn't really appreciate her character until my second playthrough.
You thought she was like a thirsty lesbian until like the last bit of the game, basically, I think. Is that how you described her to me? You're like, she's just a whore and a lesbian. And I was like, I don't think either of those things are entirely true. Like,
I didn't pick up on that at all.
So
wait, you got a timeline thing wrong. You want to explain that? Yeah, you didn't explain that.
I got a timeline thing wrong. I thought that her husband gomaged at the opening of the movie. So I was like, your husband died less than a month ago, and I felt like she was like trying to put moves on Lune with like talking about
that scene is a little weird. Yes, my dear friend, do you remember that night of intimacy we shared as friends?
Yes. See, I feel like I'm justified in that part.
The
and
wording
then it's like,
was a little weird, but I don't think that's what they were going for, because it never comes up in any other place ever again.
I agree. That's why on my second playthrough, I threw away what I mistakenly thought about Sciel, and I really like her, and I really like her playstyle on this second playthrough. She's been a lot more fun to figure out and play with. But yeah, at first I was like, she is going to be on the back burner. I don't like her. I'm going to leave her back there and not play her as her at all. Because I felt like she was just there for the thirst. But I was wrong.
I mean, is it worth going into? I know we've been kind of holding back on the Act 1 stuff. We've been trying to hold back spoilers some. Do we want to get into Act 2 and talk about the other 2 party members that show up near the start of that? Or what do you think, Austin?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Because, like, I mean, again, we're not recapping, but, you know, into Act 1, obviously, we lose our boy Gustav. Devastating.
The tragedy.
But, you know, sometimes pain leads to greater things, right, Austin? Or at least for you. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, for me, even though I was very conflicted at first. Like, we lose Gustav, he goes out like a Chad.
Dude. Is it the best death in the game?
Yes.
I think he gets the best heroic, like, sacrifice, the best death in the game. Just saving Maelle, putting a dent in Renoir, who's like a god among men, at least from what we've seen so far, right?
Yeah.
He made Renoir actually be like, oh crap, for a second in his stance. He's like, oh, this might hurt.
Yeah.
And you did. Bam. Like, sure, you're immortal, but you're going to be sad about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, put a hole in his fancy suit.
Well, my favorite thing was I think you were watching that scene with me and I was texting you and I went, oh, frick, they're aerithing him. And then I went, okay, so who's the mechanical replacement? And then in walks Verso. And I went,
and then bam,
oh, good.
In walks. Yeah, my favorite character, by the end anyway. But when I first saw him and he started taking over, I'm just like, you cannot stand where he stood. You cannot replace the Gustav. Who is this man? But then the moment when I started playing him for the first time and I saw style rating, I'm like, oh, he's just Devil May Cry. Okay, well, I'll hear you out.
Oh, man.
That's pretty much how quickly I turned. As soon as I saw Devil May Cry style system, I'm like, okay.
You
I'm
are
in.
weak and easily won over with style letters.
Style is everything.
That's true. I mean, he is eminently charming, right? And he's voiced by the even more charismatic Ben Starr. So, like, you know, he walks in. He's got tough shoes to fill, but he's not a hard character to like. At least I felt. I mean, Christian, what were your impressions when Verso just kind of walks on the scene after Gustav dies?
Oh, I mean, he's very likable, very charming. I mean, you replace a character with crazy hair and a beard with a character with crazy hair and a beard.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you. This bothered me so much because we were talking about theories and stuff earlier, and I saw Verso and I went, oh, okay. So first off, we see Renoir and I went, oh, that's an older Gustav somehow because they look really similar to me, right? And then I see Verso and I go, no, that's like an alternate reality. I said, I don't know how, but somehow Gustav, Verso, and Renoir, the old man, are all related. They're time travel versions of each other, alternate reality versions, or something like that. And spoilers, no, they're not. But I was going insane, like, trying to understand why they were so similar. And then I found out, thank goodness, like near the end of the game, I found out that the mocap actor for Verso and Gustav is the same, not the same voice actor, but the mocap is the same guy. So I was picking up on body language similarities, and the face structure is somewhat modeled after the same guy as well. And so it was just limitations, but I was so convinced that they were related because they felt so familiar to each other. That I was going, Austin's like, that's not what's going on. I'm like, that has to be! They feel like the same person! I can't explain it, but it's like, there's a connection. And I felt so justified to find out that they had the same mocap guy, because I was like, thank God, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Fun fact, that mocap guy is SDA's VA.
In French, not in English, but yeah. Yeah.
But it's still fun.
Great, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when you said that, it brought back the memories where I felt like I was going insane, right?
Well, like,
Yeah.
I totally relate to what you're saying, because I was trying to wrap my head around, like, these three characters are strikingly similar in their appearance, and just what's going on here. So it was I was really trying to wrap my head around. I had so many theories, like, going throughout this game on the first playthrough.
Right.
I sent you guys some of them.
Oh, yeah. You had some gems.
But I did have some that were right, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I had any, like, crazy theories at this point. I mean, I felt it was really obvious that Alicia and Maelle were the same entity in some fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Can we, real quick, Austin, because we talked about favorite moments.
Yeah.
Can we actually talk about, real fast, maybe things that we would have changed or, like, frustrated us in Act 1? We just talked about highlights because it's so great. Because you talk about Alicia and Maelle. That was my biggest complaint through all of Act 1, was there was so much cryptic bullcrap that I was so convinced they were not going to be able to pay off. Because Renoir shows up and slaughters everyone, and then looks at Maelle and is like, you're the reason this is happening. If only you knew, you would stop, and if you would stop, you would do the things that you should have done, and I won't explain myself further. Whoosh, and walks away like, why are you doing this? I was so convinced that there could be no good explanation for him being so cryptic. I'm like, what? You were just doing this because we, the players, aren't supposed to know, and you're trying to encourage us. What possible character justification for you have for being, like, this much of an a-hole to Maelle for, like, seemingly no reason? Turns out I was wrong, and there is a reason, but I was really frustrated for all of Act 1.
Oh, yeah.
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 For things to change, it might be a similar thing. Like, the main thing that bugged me was less, like, the cryptic BS, but, I mean, I'm seeing Renwar's like, okay, this guy is here to kill us all. And then, like, encountering him is death. And then, I'm pretty sure he shows up, at least in Act 1, twice, or if not 3 times at camp, to just talk things and then not want to kill anybody. And, like, even with the reasonings that we get later, I still don't get why he didn't kill everybody there, because it still would have been a better outcome if he was there. He just killed them all. That's the only thing that changed. Like, maybe have the encounters be more in the wild.
Can you remind me one thing though? He doesn't start showing up at camp, I thought, until Verso shows up, or at least it's implied.
No, he shows up at camp and like talks by Maelle.
But it's at least implied that Verso is watching over them in Act 1.
Yes, that's the best stretch that you can make. Is like Verso's always near, so Renwar maybe doesn't want to try anything with Verso there. That's stretch, but that's like the only stretch I can plausibly make.
Yeah, the way I interpret it with what I know later, because I was frustrated when I watched it. The way I justified it later is Verso's always nearby, and so Renwar knows he can't get an easy hit. And also, with what we know later, I have an assumption that while he cares a lot less for the other characters, he does care for Maelle more than like a rando, right? So he doesn't want to spill the beans for actually decent reasons, but he does want to dissuade her from coming, and is willing to use violence if it gets to it. But there's enough room in his heart that he's like, if there was a way to do it non-violently without spilling the beans, I will do this. But I'm willing to kill if I have to, but I don't want to. That's how I interpreted it, at least. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching. Maybe I'm giving more credit.
But anyway, yeah, just that whole thing is probably like my one main complaint about just the game in general. It's just that, like, the little part with Renwar. I feel pretty good about the rest of it. But yeah, so we get through that. We get to the other Act 2 character. We'll go ahead and talk about him. Is the best boy, Monoco.
Wow.
Yes. So good. Music is so good for him.
Ladies. Boom.
Is Monoco the most quotable character in this game? I feel like he is.
Yeah.
What lovely
he's
feet.
definitely very quotable.
I like well, I mean, my favorite's the one later, but my second favorite is the I will never work with you again.
There will be a lot of fighting.
Well. That scene is so good.
Not now, son. I'm beating up strangers.
Yes, that's another great.
I'm very distracted beating up strangers.
Don't distract me, son. I'm beating up strangers. That's so good. Yeah,
so good.
I think, Austin, you said your favorite character is going to be Monoco calling it now, right?
That's what I expected for you. I'm slightly wrong, unfortunately, I guess, in the very, very end of things.
3.
But he was staying in your favor for quite a long time.
He was very close between 1 and 2 the whole way. I think he ended up at number 3 by the tail end of the game. But, like, Gustav's just too good. Monoco's more entertaining, but I did like... Gustav, I feel like, as we'll get to it, is the only, like, unambiguously good person in the cast, I feel like. Maybe that's a bold claim, but I feel like everyone else is such a morally gray, but interesting, not like slop Game of Thrones, we just do bad things randomly. Like, but they genuinely are flawed and interesting people, and in a world of flawed and interesting people, Gustav just being... He's not perfect, but like a guy that his whole shtick is basically just doing the right thing, even if it's tough, was very appealing to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that he's definitely the virtuous character, and meant to be that. It's a shame that he was cut short because I was curious, really want to know what would change?
I mean,
if we had a Gustav.
This is a tragedy, and it's
because my favorite character does have one big flaw, and it is kind of the reason why the ending got so crazy. And maybe if there was a Gustav, it might not have been so bad.
It's said, and I think it's true. They're like, the moment the story was doomed to be a tragedy is the moment Gustav dies.
Oh yeah.
I think that's true. Yeah. So, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, we get all our characters. We get all the fun little mechanics. So like at this point, I'll ask each of you. I'll start with Christian. On a mechanical basis alone, once we have the full cast, what was your favorite character to play with, Christian?
Starting when we first acquired him, and the entirety of the game, Monoco was always my favorite one to play as. I loved the idea of you defeat an enemy, collect their toes, cut off their feet, go back to camp, polish some feet, give them pedicures, and then wham bam, you get to use their abilities. Like, I think that's just so cool. Maybe some other games have done that before, but I have not played them.
Yeah.
So for me, this is completely brand new. So he's just such a fun character, and like, especially when you get into like second playthrough and he starts acquiring boss feet. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Monoco comes from a long line of, it's in other games, but specifically Final Fantasy archetypes. It's called a blue mage, where they're characters that use enemy attacks instead of normal ones. However, they almost always suck. Monoco is my favorite version of a blue mage, including the entire history of Final Fantasy, because I usually like avoid those characters like the plague. But Monoco is fantastic. But Austin, who was your favorite?
No big surprise.
What?
Verso easily surpassed Maelle, because what I loved about Maelle was like the stance system and how stylish she was with all of the attacks. And then it's like, we heard you like style. Let's give you a style meter now. And then all of his attacks were very, very cool. I love building up the gauge. And then at that point, I also started refining my solo build and just turned Verso into a machine gun. And it works really well on Verso because he has an ability called follow-up. And that gets stronger the more times you have free shot somebody that turn. Yeah. So when you're a Gatling gun and then you use follow-up, you're doing a lot of damage. So he was just designed around me doing a solo, just screw around build, and it just worked out very well. He was my solo fighter the entire game.
I had the same team basically the entire time. You said favorite character, but I have to a little bit talk about the team because of just the way it was set up. Mm-hmm. My favorite character for probably most of the game mechanically was Monoco, but it did become Sciel by the end, but only because my meme, I guess it wasn't a meme, but my setup at the end was my absolute favorite. It is not optimal to play. I recognized it was not optimal to play, but I had so much dang fun with it, where basically I stuck a move on Monoco that was like, he can equip 6 enemy moves, basically, right? And I found one that's like, stab yourself, lose all your health, do a lot of damage, basically, right? And then I had another one that was like, with low health, do extra damage. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and that was really fun. And then I decided to like kind of follow in that same footsteps, and there's a weapon you can get Sciel if you lose against her, ironically. Because I was playing, you were also, and Christian, you amazed me that you did this. I was playing on the Steam Deck, and I could not get the parrying or dodging down because of the delay. There's a huge delay on that. So I lost handily to Sciel. And she gets this weapon that's like, I think you hated it, Austin, but it was like, you get dealt like double damage, but like you take extra damage and you deal extra damage is basically its shtick, right? And so I was like, wait a minute, because I kept, Lune was a mainstay on my team, right? And mostly for healing, sometimes for elemental application, but she basically just applied elements and fire and then healed, right? And I was like, so I can have Monoco running around at 1 health, and I can have Sciel die in 1 hit. And so I had 2 glass cannons and a healer was my setup for the entire game. So if I ever got, and then near the end, you can find Pictos, which are like the passives and things like that, right? And you can find Pictos that, like, when die, other characters get their AP meters filled up, or extra shields or health. And so I constantly would just have these two characters that would just instantly fall over dead. Lune would get, like, max health, max energy, max move, instant gets to go, just revive everyone, and they pop back up and get killed. Like, and so I could just keep having them get knocked over and then pop them back up, and then they do, like, do a huge, because Sciel's whole shtick is, like, again, she put card meters on people, and, like, the more kind of card stacks you put on people, the more susceptible they are to damage, basically. That, unlike a lot of effects, that persists over times. So she can, like, put a bunch of foretell on them, die, and then I can revive her, and she's like, all right, where were we? And, like, it doesn't go away. So I just kept doing that again and again, and it was just these two characters constantly dying, healing everyone around them, and then me reviving them, and then, like, punching like One Punch Man, and then dying again. And that was how I went through the entire game. And it was, I recognize that's not an optimal build, but I was so giddy that the game let me do that I ran that literally through the end of the game.
I'm glad we both had somewhat of a meme fun build to carry us through the game.
It was so funny just watching them constantly die and then pop back up and then, like, just be their guns. Like, yeah, I could do this all day, Captain America. It was so funny. Editor Dolan put Monoco's face on Cap saying I could do this all day. I could do this all day.
That's not too bad of a request.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah, but getting into it, so, like, Act 2, we had a lot more worlds to kind of go through. One of them I'll touch on because it was definitely one of my favorite boss segments of the game, was when we got to the Forgotten Battlefield. Like, the moment we show up, it shows, like, this little ominous cutscene of this big Nevron warrior just walking amidst hordes of bodies in the sunset. And then we go over to Verso, and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, everybody here is practically killed by a single Nevron. I couldn't take him down. I don't know if he's still here. It's been forever since I've seen him. But let's be careful. Go through the whole thing. Maelle starts having a breakdown a bit after, like, you know, losing Gustav and then being surrounded by so much death all over her, while everyone's just, you know, gotta keep going, do that mantra. When one falls, we continue, and Miles is like, I don't want to, I need a break. And then big Nevron duelist boy just plops down, knocks Maelle to a giant pool of blood and more bodies. Like, I heard you liked death, have some more death around you. And then just absolutely love the music for that boss fight. The boss fight was really well designed. The whole animation sequence before the fight, and then the finishing sequence everyone's doing to finish off the duelist was sublime. It was pure cinema. Editor Dolan put the Gustav pure cinema. Right there. That was probably, like, until, like, the very, very end bosses, definitely my favorite boss fight in the entire game.
Nice. Christian, did you have a favorite dungeon or boss in Act 2?
I would agree with the Dualliste. I mean, that was just such a great boss fight. The cinematics of it are incredible. Like, and then I love that the Dualliste is a collectible foot on, like, your second playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
That is, like, the only move that I use.
It's a good move.
It's so good. And, like, it's really good. You can really take some people out with it. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, please continue.
I was just going to say that I would probably say that would be my favorite boss fight. Did you ask boss or just memorable?
Just memorable moments or bosses. I don't care. Moment, boss, whatever. We're just going over the highlights of Act 2, except for let's hold the ending to be kind of the part Act 3 conversation. Just the until the twist. You know,
okay.
Pre-twist stuff.
I mean, for Act 2, I enjoyed fighting the Axons. I thought those were good, very well done. I still, in my opinion, the Dualliste is still better, just like overall.
That's
Um,
so funny.
But yeah, they're really good.
Okay, I gotta talk about this. I guess I'm gonna cut. Normally, you know, we do good and then bad later or whatever. I gotta get into my one thing I'd change about Act 2. Is the Dualliste was the moment I almost like decided I was gonna have problems with the game actually. And funnily enough, you're like, I like the Dualliste better than the Axons, even though I like those a lot. The Axons were what saved it for me. Not the whole game, but this one problem I had, which is up until that point, I kept complaining to Austin. I said, the game's pretty good. I don't like the cryptic bullcrap because there's no way they could pay this off. I was wrong about that. But I do still feel this, and I was like, I feel like the bosses just come out of nowhere and have nothing to do with anything. And it really frustrated me that, like, it's just like you'd be walking around and it's like, oh, giant pufferfish. Like, that's not an act, but like, it just felt like, and then they're like, well, that was weird, and then just keep going. And I was like, these bosses just feel like just suddenly a thing pops down from the canyon, smacks you around for a bit, and then you kill it for like seemingly no reason. And he was like, well, if you get to Act 3 or like do New Game Plus, you can learn more about them. And I'm like, okay, I don't care, because right now I'm the Dualliste was the epicenter for me. At that point, I don't think I'd feel this way maybe on a second playthrough. But at that, my feelings through the game, the Dualliste was my least favorite boss of the game. Not because he's the worst, but because it was like the fifth one in a row that just felt like a random bullcrap thing showed up out of nowhere. And it was when I decided, like, oh, this game just isn't going to have interesting bosses. It's just going to be a monster pops down for no reason and hits you, and then you kill it. And it was like... And to me, when we got to the Axons that actually have story significance, and it's like, oh, these represent things, and you can read into them and start to get an idea of what's going on in the story and what they signify, and like they have more meaning than random monster pops down, was when I was like, okay, there is a little bit more thought going into this than random monster pops down. So, funnily enough, I had the thing I would change is put some of that story significance that's like in the hidden files a little bit earlier, maybe. And for me, I had the exact opposite, where I got to the Axon, I was like, oh, these are so much better than the Dualliste. Because also, both of them, and we'll get into this, but both of them, how you interact with their dungeons on the way to the Axons affects the boss also. So that, even more than the story significance, also felt like this isn't a random monster that showed up. These are things in the world. You can do things in the world to affect them and like have interplay with them. And I just wish a little bit more of the like 5 or 7 bosses before that had more of that kind of thought put into them that I felt like the Axon did. So I'm sure I'm the odd man out. Austin, you can tell me why I'm wrong, but that was my experience with the bosses in Act 2.
I mean, I can't say you're wrong in that one. Why I like the Dualliste is mostly like the spectacle of the fight and the cinematics around it. Like, sure, like the Axons are designed to be big story thing, and there's even stuff that you didn't talk about them that add to their significance about like what the Axons represent, which we'll get into. So like when you're focusing on maybe like you want like the story and plot behind them, yeah, the Axons have a lot more of that than the Dualliste. The Dualliste doesn't have much of like a story behind it, but it's freaking cool. He wins the cool meter, and plus the fight itself was very fun. I loved going against it. I liked his moveset. I liked fighting against and countering it. It was very satisfying. It was a very exhilarating fight compared to all of the other fights before.
I mean, that's fair.
And the music was dope as heck.
I gotta say, I think this is probably true for everyone, but like, I mean, maybe not. Maybe the Duellist still beats it, but for me, the part where I was like, I love the Axons, but also Ravioli at the end of Act 2 was just when his music starts playing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
that is... I'm trying to think if that, like, that specific song, which I'm not even going to try to say the French name, but it's like A Life to Love, is that Renwar's fight might be my favorite boss track in the entire series. There's one more that like competes with it very closely, which is A Life to Love, which we'll get into that later. But like both of those two songs are definitely like the top of the soundtrack for me that I always listen to completion when it pops up on shuffle. The only song that I think beats it is Gustav. Gustav sings too good.
Oh yeah.
But it just fighting. It is funny because I think most with a slight asterisk, the end boss of every act is just ravioli again. Which by the way, I called him ravioli because I don't know why, but I could not remember Renoir. And so I kept going, they are guy, ravioli, and so that kind of stuck. And then it became a joke that the Renoir that you fight in the first 2 acts is ravioli, and then the Renoir you fight in the 3rd act is actually Renoir. He gets to have a name by then. But he's ravioli until then.
Yeah, but if we're getting into that,
yeah, am I jumping ahead? There's some stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, the end of Act 2 was the culmination of. I had a lot of mixed feelings when we reached at that point.
Right before then, hang on, is worth mentioning the best line in the entire game, also. When they split up Monoco, do the thing. Yeah. Editor Dalla, just put that in there. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Monoco, why the hell did you...
Sorry, I fucked up. I just wanted to show off.
We just have to regroup. The others should be fine. Verso said the heart is in the center of old Lumière, right?
Right. Okay, Monoco, stop crying. We have to move.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that I fucked up. I just wanted to show off about Act 2.
It's so good. I'm sorry. Because the voice actor for Monoco is so sultry and stoic for the entire game, even though he's a bit of a goofball. And then he's just sobbing. Like, it's so funny. Yeah, that's what he is. So funny. Sorry, I know that is not story important, but that's maybe my favorite line in the entire game. had to shout it out.
Yeah, and I guess one thing to mention, like we go like in that same section of Lumière, we fight Ravioli there as well, and then we learn or confirm more like Verso is Ravioli's son.
Okay, this bothered me. I'm sorry. I know the one other thing I would change. I said it was the boss. I changed my mind. It's this. That would be my gameplay thing. This bothers me. My one actual plot point I have problems with the game is the entire game. Again, most people watching this have played it, but it is worth mentioning. Ravioli's been walking around with a masked woman who's like assisting him in what he's doing, right? And she is so obviously Maelle. Like it's and it's very, very obvious the whole game. But then she even takes off her mask, right? And like it's Maelle. It's just a black and white Maelle and then Maelle. And what's going on? Ooh, that's part of the cryptic bullcrap, right? And Maelle like sees this painted, this like black and white version of her that's weird, face-to-face version of her. Knows and then finds out that Verso is Ravioli's son, right? They're like, oh man, this is a big plot twist. And then there are like several hours of the game, and there's parts of it you can camp. There's conversations where people are talking to each other. They camp several times. And she never once thinks to ask Verso, who clearly knows more than he's letting on, and knows about Ravioli and the masked girl, hey, why did that girl look like me? Not once does Maelle ask that. And it bothers me so much, because she just keeps going like, why does that woman look like me? To herself, not to the person that clearly has the answers. She's just like, why? What does it mean? Well, I'm so confused and distraught about this. And Verso's just kind of standing in the background, like meme cat face, and teenagers. It's my one actual, all the other plot things. You're right. Maybe we have to stretch a little bit, but I can at least go, I see it. I do not see this. There's no universe where she doesn't. Maybe you could even have him go I can't explain it. It's too painful. I don't care. But she never asks, and it bothered me for the entire act, end of Act 2. Why? Okay, sorry.
Could it be that her subconscious didn't want her to remember?
She says that explicitly, and I think that's stupid. She's like, I guess I knew all along, and I'm like, I don't care. You should have asked. Because if you do the subconscious thing, then you could have her go do you know what's going on? And he goes, nope, no idea. And because of her subconscious, she doesn't push it. And I would have been more okay with it. But she should have someone should have asked. Lune or Sciel should have asked. I don't know. It really bothered me.
Yeah, they only draw the connection right and gets with the Patroness. When the Patroness looks at her, it's like they're like, Wait a minute.
That is the one actual plot hole in the game. Like, maybe there's things that are stretched or I don't like how they did it, but, like, actual plot hole is that no one bothers to ask him. So, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted, but I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah. No, we're good, yeah. So we get all that, and, like, I'm riding the hype train of the plot really hard at this point. Like, we're going to the Paintress. But I had some doubts in my mind, like, we're still in Act 2, and as far as I'm aware, there's another act, and we're at the Paintress. This doesn't bode well.
Yeah.
But then we get the awesome ravioli fight. Really, really good stuff going on. Great interactions with Verso and Renoir there.
This is the fight where he summons...
we get to the Paintress.
Wait, this is where he summons the giant electric...
Yeah, the lion.
Yeah, that thing was... Oof.
Yeah. That was dope as heck.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good fight.
Now, it was partially because I was on the Steam Deck at that point, too, but that was actually the fight I had the hardest time with the timing on. Finally, after that, I got my new computer, and I became like a god that could actually time things. But I got stuck in that fight for so long because of the weird, wonky timing.
Oh, yeah. Parrying on Steam Deck is not
so
for the faint of heart.
Because it's like 0.7 seconds longer than it actually is. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's so hard.
We haven't talked about it yet, but there is another boss fight that I am still yet to complete that I have concluded cannot be done.
I gotta let you try on my computer sometime and just see like what it feels like.
I feel like if I had a computer, I feel like I would have a better shot at it.
Yeah, no, it's a genuine hardware issue, but that's a. This game isn't perfectly optimized. I guess that's one. You do need a pretty decent rig to run it, even okay.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Because there's a whole level that I encountered this. I think you were already on your PC by this point, but we haven't talked about it. It's technically after Act 2.
Whatever. Yeah.
Do you guys care if I enter the level? I'll tell you later.
Okay, but tell us later. He wants to talk about the twist too, but I was just saying, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we gotta at least get to the twist. So yeah, the main twist of the game, we get there, we defeat the Paintress. Like, we did it, guys, we did it. We're going back home, we're celebrating. Then we get the, Verso reads a letter that his painted sister, Alicia, gave him. And reads that, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, the world's fake.
And the Paintress was trying to protect y'all.
Yep. The real person causing the homage was, surprise, your father. Ooh. And then everybody dies. Everyone gets homage. And then we go back a little bit in time and we go into the real world. And then we're there with Alicia, we meet Clair,
her sister, yeah.
We get introduced to pretty much the whole thing, like the whole game world we're in. There's a painted canvas. That exists in the real world. So,
yeah, there are magic.
None of it was real.
They just dump you, like in the beginning, they just dump you straight into like, okay, they're just like, there's magic painters, they can make lifelike or life or actual worlds. There's debate on that. We'll get to it. And you could the whole game you've been playing is just in this world that these magic painters have created. They just drop that on you. Also, Monoco's a dog.
Yes, Monoco and Noko were the family dog representations. That's why he is the best boy. But yeah, at that point, that's when I thought like the game went down a few points, because I was really bummed at the start about like, man, it's a false world, didn't matter, blah 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 blah. We'll get into more of that because I know we have different varying opinions on so forth. I did come around and I thought, okay, what it actually became at the end was actually really good. But I was genuinely bothered for a while. It's mainly because I just come back to Gustav, because I'm thinking like, Gustav, everything that I cared about him, his death and everything, nothing.
So, what's funny is I got more excited. I think I told you when we got to that twist, I went, this game just shot up. Because it was floating around my top 30. And I was like, I think this just shot it up to the top 10 for me when that twist came out.
Yeah. I mean, looking back at it now, it's a decent twist. I'm on board with it. But at the start, I was not happy with it. But then we kind of dive into more of like at this point, it just becomes a whole family dynamic.
I didn't call that the whole world was painted. I don't know how you really could. But I did tell you, I said, our main cast are all creations of the paintress. I don't know exactly how that is, but I think I did call that before the twist happened.
Yeah, that was technically correct with the exception of one
Sure,
person.
but whatever. For the amount of...
Well, actually, you can almost argue even Maelle was, because reborn, kinda. That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I feel very proud.
I predicted that the paintress was actually stopping something worse from happening, so
That's true.
I was pretty proud of that.
That's a good... Yeah, I didn't guess that. That's a good one.
I got at least fairly early on that the paintress was the mother. That's probably the only theory I had. So we finally get to meet real Renoir.
He's no longer Ravioli.
And then real
this
Renoir.
one's Renoir.
Yeah. He is
He's
involved.
rigatoni.
And now that we're meeting him, I will have to say, real Renoir is my second favorite character in the whole game.
I think
love
he
this
might
man.
be mine too.
He's good. Like, Verso number 1, real Renoir number 2, Gustave number 3.
Gustav 1, Renoir 2, Monoco 3. Christian.
Renoir's definitely up there. I meant to ask you guys about this earlier, but around Father's Day, I saw so many memes of like "Happy Father's Day to Renoir, the greatest dad of all time." Like, there's a whole fandom that's like Renoir is the best dad, and I wish my dad was like him. There's like a whole fan sect that thinks that way, and I just thought that was funny. So
I know this is venturing into recap territory, but it is worth emphasizing why he's good, because the whole point is like the painting is harmful to you if you stay in it too long, but it's addictive also, right? So I mean, do you want to get into a little? I know we don't want to recap too much, but do we want to explain his motivation of why it makes him such a compelling character, Austin?
Yeah, so essentially, as we kind of learn once we go back in time as Alicia, in the real world, Verso died in a house fire trying to save Alicia. Alicia also still got...
And Alicia is Maelle, just in case people don't know.
Yeah, Alicia and Maelle, they're the same person, but imagine if you're here, you know this.
True.
But yeah, we get to the point, like...
if you've made it this far in the podcast.
Yes. Verso dies tragically in a fire, and then everybody is horribly grief-stricken by this. Aline, which is the mother and the paintress, goes into Verso's only canvas to basically just hide in there and, like, escape. Big picture of escapism here. Escape from reality. She painted a whole, like, replica family
and
to kind of live with, kind of modifying them to her, like, kind of desires to an extent, which is why, like, Alicia is black and white, maintains all the scars, cannot talk because she has some resentment for her. Instead of painting her out,
because she blames...
gave her all of the pain.
Yeah.
She partially blames Alicia on it because Alicia did kinda get tricked by some ominous group called the Writers, which we know nothing really about. I want to know too. But yes, besides that, painted a copy of her husband, slightly different.
That's Ravioli.
But he still kept the same. Yeah, which I love. Even though like she painted Ravioli to be like more on her side, is still like matching the real Renoir. Still has that really strong devotion to protecting the family.
It's just the painted family.
Because everything painted Renoir is doing is to protect the painters, protect his painted family. Like, trying to get Verso back. He doesn't want to lose Verso again. Like everything's about gotta keep my family together, which the real Renoir maintains. He's like, I had all this wonderful time when I met your mother. Like, she taught me how to handle painted worlds and how to do it safely. And now I'm watching her fall into the trap and lose herself and die. And I'm not having that. I'm going in and going to get her out and save my wife. Which is pretty much the whole thing. And he ends up getting trapped. Because Aline is a better painter than he is.
Yeah, she's head of the council or guild or something like that. So she's apparently
head of the Painters Council. One of the strongest painters. Clay is also really strong up there, and so far the only mentioned one who can, like, paint over somebody else's creation, basically completely reprogram it. Nobody else can do that
What's
except
even
Playa.
weirder is that, like, even doing that doesn't seem to... Like, they're really weirdly altered. It's not like, oh, this person... It's not like a mind control, just a click, you're slightly different. Like, it, like, turns them into, like, weird, almost zombies when she does it. It breaks them, the things that she paints over. So...
Kinda. And, like, what's not clear is, like, if that's just what painting over does, or if that's just her method of doing it. Like, if she just chose to have it reflect that way. It does not tell us anything about the mechanics.
The implication I got was that it does, like, you can't... The point I'm making is that, we'll get into this in a bit, but, like, a painter, even a really strong painter, it doesn't seem could, like, very subtly alter a person. It seems to, like, be very broad brushstrokes when they do it and leave lasting permanent effects on the person.
Because they also kind of talk about, like, you know, fixing some of the, like, aversified effects and making things better, but that's still a paint over power. So I feel like even, like, you could paint over in a positive way and things still be fine. It doesn't always have to be, you paint it over, it has a negative
arguably,
effect.
I don't know exactly what happens at the end, but one of the endings maybe implies it could be done positively. We'll get into that, I guess, but...
Yeah, plot twist, blah, blah, we meet Renoir. Renoir's based. Yeah. Love this dude. He's doing everything for his family. He's like, cool, we finally got your mom out. We can finally get that. Time for us to get rid of this. Maelle, time to come home. Let's deal with this as a family.
It's worth noting, I know I'm cutting ahead to the not debate we're not going to have, but I love how despite him being like, yeah, I'm going to destroy the whole world, he treats the painted creations with a level of, like, respect and, like, I don't know, value that I think indicates, like, personhood. I know you disagree on that. We'll get to that. But, like, I do love how he talks to... He doesn't just like, okay, dirt. You know, he's like, I'm so sorry this has to happen. I'm sorry you got brought into this. This is our fault. I'm still going to kill you. But I recognize that you have value, and I am apologizing to you profusely that you got dragged into this. Which I think makes him even more base.
Sure, yeah, and I still like that about Renoir, but I mean, my whole, like, kind of view on that, it's like, everything is basically like a combination of a story of grief at this point, and then it's a very big, like, comparison of, like, the value of art. Because everything is very art-themed.
Oh, yeah.
Renoir, famous painter. Like, everything is art-based. So, I mean, like, you're looking at this, and he also references, like, a piece of, like, a Lune's finest work, referencing, like, you know, work of art. So, I mean, like, if you're looking at this, like, man, it is a shame that this, like, you know, this incredible creation that my wife made, like, her skill of a paintress, is gonna be gone away. He regrets that. He has respect. Just like somebody, like, in real life might be look at a famous work of art, say, like, the Mona Lisa. It would be a big shame to destroy that thing. Kind of a similar vibe. Very great piece of work of art. It would be a shame to destroy it. How much do you value that? Do not give it sentience.
Yeah, well, hey, wait. Are we debating or are we not debating? Because... But yeah.
But yeah, we get that whole thing. Maelle's like, nope, I don't want to go. We're not destroying this. Run away. She runs away.
Well, and everyone's dead. I know you mentioned that briefly, but we have to clarify.
Well, everyone's dead from the Act 2 finale. Nobody got reds.
No, everyone's dead except for right after the Act 2. I guess right at the start of Act 3, she's able to, like, grab the essence of Sciel and Lune, basically.
Yeah, she kind of, like, remembers them, and then also what I kind of interpret based off the chroma that she had available. When they forged her sword, they used the the two axons, and even Verso mentions, like, we have this 2 axons worth of chroma. They were able to use that chroma to get, like, kind of bring back 2 people, so to speak, or use that energy.
It's not implied that she's just like, this is one worth it, whether you consider them sentient or not. It is interesting that the game is pretty explicit that she's reviving those 2 rather than, like, making new people like them. I don't know why. But it seems to be that if you're able to at least grab their chroma so close after, like, they were erased, that they were able to actually bring back those 2 characters, whether you consider them sentient or not.
I think it's more based off of the memory of them, as, like, how Verso is coaching her on how to actually successfully
the reason it can't...
Because it's like the remembering their essence.
The reason it can't be, though, remembering their essence, this even people who side with they're not sentient, it is the same people, because they recall things and talk to things about each other that Maelle would have no knowledge of, or Verso would have no knowledge of, that only, like, Sciel and Lune would have been privy to. That happens after they're revived, which indicates that they are, in fact, they at least still have the memories, not just what Maelle remembers, but the memories of those characters from before. So,
yeah, I think it's easily to say it's a combination of both. Like, maybe the stuff that she grabbed was like, their actual memories and stuff, the essence that she grabs, and then in order to repaint them, she has to kind of like pull from her memories of who they are on top of it to actually
like give them physical form.
Like taking from thought to canvas.
I just wanted to point out that it's not like she made new people who are like, because there's a debate on if that happens later, not between, but like there's people aren't sure if when you revive certain people or if the ability a painter could revive someone, is it the same person or not? I don't know that it always is, but the game treats at least Sciel and Lune as if they're the same people, which is I don't know, a weird thing.
Yeah, and I don't have any issue with them having the same memories, because how I kind of view it, even if you're going on sentience, non-sentience, is like all of this is the paint that exists inside of the canvas. It's all the same material. So even if something was like, destroyed, the chroma they never say that the chroma is gone. They kind of mention like it kind of goes back to a lean. It just kind of goes back to the core. Like it never is gone. So theoretically, like the first paint object in that whole world could be like unpainted, destroyed, or whatever, and could theoretically just come back because it's the same materials that exist.
Yeah.
So it's interesting
Think
to
about
like that. Theoretically, the very first creation can always come back because it's the same material, chroma, paint, whatever. Control Z enough, and you come back.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it reminds me of like when something's erased in a hard drive, but if isn't written over, you can sometimes go in and grab it, kind of from like the space left over.
Yeah,
I imagine it was like that with Sciel.
Yeah, it's a good analogy,
at least. But like that also, if that same chroma gets used to make something else, I would imagine that it would actually be lost. So, I don't know. That's an interesting thought. I don't know. I'm purely speculating here, but it's interesting.
Yeah. That gets into real speculation territory at that point.
But yeah, so it is worth mentioning. This is where Act 3 starts. Unlike Act 1 and 2, there's really only one big story thing to do, right? Which is just like go get Renoir and try it.
Go deal with Renoir.
But the reason it's a whole act is because that's where the entire world, you finally get the ability to basically fly on SKA, and all the world and side content open up at this point, but you don't have to do it, which I found kind of an interesting throwback to when JRPGs would open up at the very end,
Yeah.
It was a fun time. I went straight to the ending. I didn't do much really any side content beforehand. I just went straight for it.
I think I did the other Axon, the one optional Axon you can do.
You did most of it. You didn't finish it.
I don't remember why, but
yeah, you had trouble fighting or beating Painted Lace. Yeah,
I don't remember why I left. Did I have my computer at that point? I wonder why I had.
Yeah, because you would have had to. You said that you needed your computer to beat Ravioli.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you beat the game that same day.
Maybe I just wanted to be done. like not in a bad way, but like I didn't want to wait. I wanted to do the story stuff, I think. Because I think we thought we were doing this podcast a lot quicker, and so I was like, I gotta finish.
Yeah. So did you ever go back and finish the third Axon?
We'll get into that, but no. After I beat the game, I had some frustrations, and it's kind of dissuaded me from wanting to actually do more content right now. We'll get into that in a bit, but after I beat the game, we'll get into it, but it made me think, I'm not saying I'll never go back and do other content, but it made me want to take a break from the game. Yeah, so.
That's fair.
Understandable.
But I did look up most of the...
We're about ready to hop into that.
I did look up most of the other content, so I am privy to what happens, but I haven't personally played through a lot of it.
Okay. I went...
At this point, I'm on run 5, so...
Yeah.
Nice. I think on my first playthrough, I tried to at least visit everywhere.
Dang.
I didn't complete everything. I did complete the third Axon.
Nice.
I didn't complete the Endless Tower. I did not complete Renoir's draft. Still have not. Still haven't completed the... I think it's called the Flying Manor.
Yes, the second hardest super.
Yes. Which I I feel justified in not completing that one now because for whatever reason, the Steam Deck has an issue with the graphics for the fog in one section, and I looked it up. I would have had to like download like a mod to remove the fog. But
yeah, the Steam Deck only barely plays this game. It does, but
yes,
like...
dude, like seeing
so
clips of the game,
beat it.
I am too. Like seeing clips of the game, it's so beautiful, and on the Steam Deck, it's
no.
What?
When we first started, I first started playing this on the Steam Deck too, and literally, like, the first thing I talked to Austin about it was I took a picture and went, "This is going to be a problem because the graphics."
Dude, people's hair.
I'm so wrong.
It's so. I didn't play around. I kept the simplest hairstyles on everybody so that it wasn't a distraction. Because, like, on Steam Deck, the hair does not behave the way it's supposed to at all.
So wrong. It's like a hard model with like no physics and like it's bright, like it's glowing, like on everyone. And every time a scene changes, their hair is like pure white for a second before the texture loads.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah. It was night and day when I got to transform to the computer. I was like, this is as beautiful as I thought it was probably trying to be.
Oh man.
But yeah.
But yeah, I did some exploration before I went to the final boss, and I'm on my second playthrough now, and I've explored a little more, seen a few things that I didn't see on the first time.
Nice.
So it's been fun.
I guess before we, similarly to the others, because the ending's going to be its own section, obviously. But like, other than the ending, was there anything that was a highlight or a low light? I guess the low light was not being able to do the manner for you, Christian.
Simon.
Yeah, so I was gonna say highlight for me.
Simon's
the one thing I did do that I really liked. I like a lot of the areas. I do like how things flesh out. I'm gonna be honest. I wish some of the stuff had been, like, at least the story bits of it had been moved a little bit earlier, because I think it could have fixed. You learn a lot more about the bosses and stuff you already killed. And like, would have been nice earlier. I kind of don't care anymore, and I kind of would have been less frustrated earlier. And I know that would have revealed plot twist too early, but I don't know. That was one thing, but one of my favorite things, which I feel like I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, I do feel like the odd man out on this podcast a little bit, but I loved the Gestral Beach games. I have only done 3 of the 6, but every single one I kind of was grinning ear to ear. I climbed the wall, I did the only up, and then I did the kind of like obstacle course, little basic platforming one, basically. And I have had such a delight with those. Although, in the interest of honesty, I think the one where you climb up the wall glitched out, because I got near the very top, got knocked down, and then the balls of fire just only did the left 2 the entire way, and so I was able to just climb up the right side and just kind of get through it that way. But
it's hilarious.
That one is the most infuriating.
I had so much fun with them. If I were to go back, the first thing I would do is go find the other Gestral Beach games, because that was probably my favorite side activity of the entire game.
I would at least say that the music for those beach areas are great.
Oh yeah, the music's incredible.
Well, the music of the whole game is incredible, but yeah.
Yeah. I love the idea of the Gestral Beach games. I personally just struggled so hard that I decided I wasn't going to try anymore. Because every time I would try to jump somewhere, it would do the jump and then roll to recover.
Right.
And when you jump and roll, and I rolled off the platform every time.
You have to get really precise with the
You want a tip? You want a tech you can do? You can cancel the roll from jumps and falling down on heights if you spam the attack button. because they'll do the attack animation, not the roll animation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try it again.
I didn't use that. I just let go of the stick,
Yep.
and then they would just stand.
Yeah, I learned that tech for, there's a specific Picto in Renoir's drafts that is really annoying to get to because you always roll right off the tiny platform you're supposed to land right before the edge. So that tech saved my life.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean,
But anyway, so...
I was just going to ask
what
y'all,
do
did
you
y'all
got?
have any highlights of the Act 3 other than the ending? Like, what was your favorite kind of thing that opened up?
Simon.
Okay.
Easily
the
Simon.
biggest super boss.
The mega super boss of the game. Dope music, dope fight, dope reward. Everything was peak. It was very, very difficult until I gamaged him the first time. I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna nuke him. And then once you get the sword from him, Verso's an unkillable god. At that point. And for anybody who doesn't know or have that sword, its passive is if you are A rank or higher, you can't die. And how the mechanics of the game work is no matter how many times you are hit with Verso, if you're at least S rank, you can't fall below A. So no matter what happens to you in a single turn, if you have that sword and you restart at S rank, you're invincible. The only way you can die is if it gets 2 turns in a row and you don't have any revives. But there's a Picto that revives you, and Verso's Gradient 3 gives you a revive buff. So you just keep spamming it and never die.
Nice.
It's great. And not to mention the sword, like, hits twice every single time to mimic what the boss does to you, where his sword just starts hitting you twice every attack. And then he starts hitting you 3 times after he gamages your entire team and forces you to fight with the reserve.
Simon gamage, by the way? Because I thought only painters could do that.
Spectacle. I cannot think of any reason other than, well, I know Painted Clay gave him a bunch
is it
of
painted
power.
clay, or is
Maybe
it?
he just has the power just
It's
to
not
say
painted
good.
clay.
Oh,
yeah, it's
real clay. Sorry.
Painter,
Real clay did that.
not real. The people in
Painter
the people,
Clay painted
the
over
people
Simon.
in the canvas are just as real.
Kind of related to that, like how could he go homage? I thought so. Like Painted Renoir, in Act 1 when he like hits Maelle and she like goes outside of her body for a second. That scene, you remember that?
Yeah, he was trying to do the same thing. He was trying to force her out of the canvas. It just didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think it's
If you're
like,
imbued with power from a painter directly, maybe, or something.
yeah,
Probably that could fit.
I mean,
I
'cause
think it's either a specific power or you have to have like so much chroma, maybe.
Yeah.
That
Well, okay,
if you have enough chroma as a painted being, maybe you can
because Verso's
some of that
able
power.
to, Verso's able to do that at the end of the game as well. So, and he's not. But all the people that do it both have an incredible amount of chroma and are directly given special powers by a painter. So,
Because I'm imagining Clea probably helped him get that power because she was putting Simon against the painter. She was like, gamage my mom out. End this little thing. But then Simon's like, I'm going to go this way instead.
Poor Simon.
Yeah, mainly Simon's, because, like, Clea didn't do too much to his mind, really. She just kind of impersonated Painted Clea and be like, yeah, you should go do this. Here's a bunch of power. And then left. She didn't, like, alter his mindset, which is, Eileen just basically said, like, dude, no, Renoir's the one gamaging. You go deal with him. And he's like,
listen,
okay.
I've only looked up summaries or, like, videos, so it's possible I'm missing something, but I actually think the reason he goes crazy at the end is because he's so strong. And also maybe because he's under the ground, that the gommage can't, like, kill him, but it is destroying his mind every time Renoir does another wave. It, like, chipped away at his sanity, I think was what the explanation was, right?
I'm on board with that, because I know it's related to Renoir why he's insane. Because Renoir, Simon couldn't beat Renoir, and then he got cast into the Abyss, and then I guess in the Abyss, he was stuck there by himself.
Because he leaves a journal, while he still has some sanity. It's interesting. Another fun fact is that in the 1.0, apparently, after you beat him, he looks at Verso and says, like, thank you before he passes. But they took out his speaking and just have him nod in, like, all subsequent versions. Some people are theorizing because they wanted to make it uniform that when something's painted over, it can no longer speak, because that's what happens to painted Clay as well. That's not confirmed by the developers, but that's what a lot of people are assuming, is if you get painted over, you kind of lose the ability to talk, because like it's like taping your mouth shut kind of a deal.
Interesting.
I don't know. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so getting into like the final confrontation and ending, Dolan, I'll let you go ahead and start this.
Well, I mean, like a little bit of background, right? So you fight Renoir, and basically he's like, I am not letting my family destroy itself. You know, frigging, we gotta get. Oh gosh, what's her name? The mom.
Aline?
Yeah, we gotta get Aline out of here. She's gonna die. This is not good for her. And you, young lady, have come in here and just kind of like messed everything up. Like everyone's mad at poor Maelle / Alicia. And he's just like, we're stopping this. We're going home. We're gonna grieve like normal people. And you people can't trust this. This should have been a beautiful memory of our son. But you women are mucking it up. Not all, like, he doesn't hate women, but like, you know, you and your mom are mucking it up. And I'm just gonna have to destroy the whole world to keep you people safe, because that's what the leader of this household will do, right? And Maelle's like, hey, all for, like, you know, whether you believe it or not, because, you know, she gets called out as basically lying by a lot of people, but she says, why don't we just, like, kick Mom out and, like, deal with this in a healthy way and not have to kill everyone to, you know, try and help Mom be healthy? And he's like, I've tried this. We're doing it the murder way.
I have to point out one correction. She doesn't argue about not, like, killing everybody for the sake of protecting. Her main arguments was that she just doesn't, like, for her sake, she doesn't want to lose her connections to the world. Like, she values the connections she made and, like, her life inside the Painters, and that's what she is arguing
later.
For
well, she starts off by saying it's wrong to destroy the whole world, basically, and it does devolve into that. I think that's more against Verso. When she's talking with her dad, she makes more altruistic arguments. It's when Verso starts saying you're lying about those altruistic arguments, is how I remember that conversation going. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I seem to remember her...
The you lied was that, like,
about
she's saying that I'm only going to be here a little bit longer. Don't worry, I'll come back out. That was the lie.
I think she starts off with more altruistic sounding arguments, and then when she gets called on that, she's like, all right, fine. Yeah, I don't want to leave. I miss my brother. I miss not being treated like a freak and being the blame of everything. I want to live here. Is that so bad? You know, basically is what she devolves into right near the end. Because, yeah, the ending after you basically beat Renoir, and because he's been fighting, you know, Aline this whole friggin' time, you finally beat the real Renoir, and she's like, hey, I know this is dangerous to stay in too long, but I want to stay just a little bit longer. Please don't destroy the world. I promise we've kicked Mom out. I promise that I'll come out, but just not right now. I can survive in here.
It's also worth noting that, like, he keeps mentioning, like, Aline is, like, shows her dying.
No, that's vital.
Thing. And she even re-enters the canvas. And, like, even kicking her out, it's like she just comes straight back in. It's like, I knew this would happen.
Renoir is immediately proven right. Aline gets it, which is even more bonkers because there's clearly time dilation going on, which means she found it in like 30 seconds after being kicked out. I don't know what the actual, but like it's like I guess there's arguably a little bit of time between, because there is a montage of her gathering a bunch of chroma, and they aren't specific.
I would say it probably took her a few hours.
Well, some people have argued it's months. I don't know, but there's a montage of indeterminate amount of time, so you can make that as long or as short as you want for Aline to get back to the painting with the time dilation. But it's not very long. Like, the maximum it would be is a day. Like, that's being very generous. Being very generous is that it took her a day to find this painting again, which is immediately proving Renoir right, that you're not going to be able to hide this from her. If we don't destroy it, she's going to kill herself, right? Basically. So anyway, but he does show, like, look, Aline is dying. Like, she's, like, hacking up blood. If you stay in the painting too long, it's bad. And this is gonna happen to you. You haven't been here as long, but that'll happen to you. And I've already lost my son. I'm not losing my wife and daughter. I don't have...
Then Maya's like, it's not a phase, Dad. I'm different.
But, like, you know, I still think we could debate. People could play and look at that scene. I think she starts off with altruistic arguments with him. But at this point, they beat him, and she's like, cool, we win. Everything's happy. And then Verso's like, Yeah, and basically jumps into like the interdimensional. I don't even know. There's like a world between worlds. That kind of is
the heart of the canvas is exactly where it is.
Yeah, and so he's like, that's where he calls Maelle, and he's like, you were lying. You tried to make it sound altruistic, but like you're gonna stay here till you die, just like your mom is. You're trying to couch it in like pretty talk and like, altruistic motives, and that this is all what's right, but like you're lying. I know you're lying. He knows you're lying, and more important than that, even if you weren't lying, like mom's gonna die, and I know I'm a painted creature and she's real, but like I still love her as if she were my mom. So guess what? You don't get a choice anymore. I'm gonna make this decision for you. Yeah.
Well, hang on. One thing that he mentions in that same back and forth is Verso does try to argue with Maelle, saying, "Why don't you just leave? You can always just come back and visit." He makes that point. She shuts it down. So I mean, like he had that offer, but like he's also just like, okay, well, Maelle's just clearly not going to do it if she's going to follow the same line of Aline. Fine, and then sticks to his guns at that point.
And at the risk of, again, we'll get into it, but I think he's got decent reason to believe she is lying. Or at least, even if she means well and doesn't think she's lying, won't be able to hold up that kind of willpower. Maybe even she really means it right then. There's some debate. He says you don't really mean it. Maybe she does. But seeing Aline come back so quickly, I think is good fuel for his thought that, like, you're going to fall prey to just the comfort of being here and how difficult it is out there and how wonderful it is in here. Because even though there's been all these horrible things, like, the only friends she really has or has ever known have been in this painting, right? As far as we know. She seems very isolated in the outside world. She literally can't talk, is deformed, is burned. Everyone blames her for her brother's death. It's a bad time out there. And he's like, I know it's tough, but you don't get to kill yourself in a effort to avoid pain, right? Is kind of his argument. Now, counterpoint, we've been talking about how Maelle was making these altruistic arguments about don't destroy the world, and then he kind of calls her out on that. Maelle at this point calls him out and goes like, yeah, you're saying this is all about me, but it's really not. It's because you're suicidal. Like, quite frankly, he's been made immortal by the painters, and as long as this world seems to exist, he's linked to it, seemingly, and can't die. And he wants to die. He's lived for, like, what is it, 100 years? More? 200? Like, it's a long time. And he's been living with this kind of cognitive dissociation of he's one of the most accurately copied characters, right? A lot of people have pretty significant differences. They're based on something, but, like, it's been described several times that he just has Verso's memories. He has Verso's, like, personality and thoughts and wishes and feelings, but he's not Verso, and he's cursed with the knowledge that he's not Verso. And that discoordination of, like, is anything I think a real thing, or is it just what he would think? Or is there even a difference between what he would think and I would think? Has been eating away at him for, like, not a millennia, sorry, for a century, right? And just, he's tired. He doesn't see the point. He doesn't see hope in continuing forward anymore. And she calls him out and is like, you're saying this is about me and Mom, and I know you care about us, but you just want to die even more than you care about me and Mom. It's just a nice coincidence. So they both have this interesting morality where, like, on the surface, Maelle's going, no, you can't destroy a world and kill all these people. That'd be wrong. And on the surface, Verso is saying, oh, but I care so much about you and Mom, I can't let you die. But underneath it is Maelle going, I don't want to face the pain of having to live my life that has been in the outside world and how miserable. And on the inside of the flip side of Verso is I'm suicidal and I don't have the energy to try and improve myself anymore. I just want to die. So they both have this level on the top of seeming altruistic intentions, but when push comes to shove, both kind of reveal more ugly, selfish desires for the reasoning. And then the game basically says, hey, you the player, who are you going to back? You've seen the good, you've seen the bad, you've seen them argue both for their altruistic reasons, their counter reasons, and you the player get to pick who wins, Maelle or Verso. Austin, at this point, do we want to dig into those endings, or how do you want to approach this? Because
go for it.
So I'll go first, right? I backed Maelle, which is apparently in the minority here, based on a lot of polling. Now, I backed Maelle for a reason that seems different than why some people are. I've seen a lot of arguments about, like, dude, why would you make her live in misery? right? Why would you make her live in pain and awful, and she has fun and likes people here, and so why would you take that choice away from her? I think that's a frankly terrible argument. I don't think escapism good is actually a good message. And a lot of people that like the Verso ending are like, that's why Maelle ending's bad, is escapism is not good. And also, a lot of people, some people that would support the Maelle ending say, just what's harm escapism? I do not subscribe to that at all. That is not my reasoning. I want to make that clear. The big debate, the big difference of opinion between at least me and Austin and some other people is basically, do you consider the residents of the painting to have sapience and sentience or not? Are they effectively AI that can mimic, people and look like people from the outside but don't have internal worlds? Or are they people? Maybe they're not the same type of people. Maybe they don't have the same human value in the same way that, like, Tolkien talked about subcreation, right? That's a whole other thing. I could spend hours. I might make a separate video. I've kind of scripted one, even talking about subcreation. But the point is, it's not that I would put them even on the same value. They may have less value than the outside. Maybe. I don't know. But do they have the value of a human soul, or at least something like it? Maybe something like an angel. Maybe it's less valuable than a human, but it's still more valuable than an animal, right? They seem to be people for a number of reasons. One, like I mentioned, it's very clear that these people have memories and thoughts and emotions that exist outside of the painters, and they can recreate and capture that, but that it exists outside of the mind. So I think that's a pretty good argument that they're not just AI or just art. I think they exist on that level as art takes on its own life, but I think the text of the story spends time telling you that these are people with internal worlds that do exist outside of just the creation of the painters. And because of that, even though I do agree it's the worse, less healthy option for Maelle and for maybe the family as a whole, it goes back to that beginning debate I mentioned where Gustave and Lune are talking, and they're like, is it worth, it's almost directly, it's like, hey, is this about Maelle or is this about Lumière? Is this about the world? Are we doing this to save the world, or is it just to do... And Gustave's trying to pick a third option where he gets to save both, but we as the players only have one. And in my case, at least, I was like, I want well for Maelle, but I'm not willing to kill... And it is kill. I'm not willing to kill Sciel. I'm not willing to kill Lune. I'm not willing to kill Monoco. I'm not willing to kill Eske. I'm not willing to... You could argue that because Renoir gommaged everyone, it's not killing them, but we have the capacity to revive the same authentic people that were at least killed recently. Maybe you can argue the people that were killed a long time ago, you have to recreate them. I don't know about the mechanics, the game doesn't go into that, but at least the people that were killed recently can be revived as the real, authentic, actual selves. Which, so you're at least killing like 5 or so people, and all the Gestrals, and all the, non-human people, and you're refusing to revive and save all these people. I think that amounts to genocide. And I think I'll put it this way. If they have sentience, that's the big debate, but if you grant that they have sentience, I think the only moral option, or the least immoral option, is Maelle's thing. There are problems, there are definitely issues we can get into. I know the Verso soul bit is a bit of a thing, although I still don't think it's as strong a case as other people do. There's a piece of Verso's soul that says, I'm really tired also. That's different from main Verso. Main Verso wants to die. Do you take that into consideration? But I do think that those are problems that can be solved more moderately, versus the other thing is just to wipe out an entire world and race of people and basically commit genocide. I think the only way you can support that line of thinking is by having to say, well, they're not real people. And I don't think the text of the game supports that, because, again, we go back to, as we've all said and agreed several times, the most moral, I know these people aren't Christian, but the most godly character in this game is Gustave, who is a painted character, who's not even based off, he's not even directly a painted, it's not like Clair directly made him. He's the child of the child of the child of the child of someone Clair made, I think, right? Like 4 or 5 generations.
Aline made.
Aline, I'm so sorry, you're right. Aline made, I apologize. And he's the best, most godly, most moral character. So if this is a world where those aren't real people that have kind of the spark, the soul of life that I would say is God-given, again, maybe the creators wouldn't, but if this is a world where painted beings exist without the mark of God being on them, without that touch, that image of God being in some way on them, then it's a world where people can make things and people better than God can. And at that point, I don't think that's true, but if I had to subscribe to that, if you talked me into thinking, no, these aren't real people that don't have the spark, don't have the image of God on them, the game would go down drastically, in my opinion, because at that point, it's espousing a worldview that humans can create better things than God. And I find that, I don't think that's true, but I that's part of why I think they have to have the image of God, because it's the only way to explain how these painted people can be more just, more moral, and more upright than the actual humans who we would all agree are image bearers of God. There's a lot longer than that. I could go on forever, but I don't want to go on forever. I want other people to have their opinions. That's kind of the short version of my reason for supporting Maelle.
All right. Well, for me, and not to, I'm just going to talk about how I view it rather than try to go into a debate format. But so when I got to this point, and like towards the end of the game, the two big themes that this game felt very strongly pushing me, including eventually going through the side content, was like two different main things. One, like dealing with grief. With the loss of Verso, every family member is dealing with grief in one of the main stages of grief. You have like the anger, denial, escapism, blah, blah, all that other facts. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the concept of the value of art, because everything is very art based. I mean, the whole power system and like the blood of people is chroma or ink. So like everything exists of the ink of the canvas of a brush that somebody is painting on there. And even like when we reach the real world, like some of the, like I would say like the two people that have probably the most sane life thing, and you probably don't agree with one of these people, I would say that Clay is very level-headed of the particular family. She's the fastest to move on. Her main way of dealing with grief in this particular instance that they portray is basically anger. She wants revenge on the writers for killing her brother. That's kind of where she's at. And so her whole motivation is like, I just want to ignore my mom mainly. She's wasting her time. We have more important matters to deal with, wasting her time in a fake fantasy world. She knows it's a fake fantasy world and states it as such. She states that Aline had the same opinion before she lost herself to grief. Renoir would have the same opinion. The only people that had, at least in the game media, that have expressed otherwise would be Maelle. She thinks that these people are real to her and argues against like painted Verso, which I mean, arguing with painted adult Verso against, and he's firm, like this is a make-believe world and a make-believe family, having the real Verso's memories. Not a very big stretch to say real Verso also understood this. So it seems like all of the grown-ups of the Desandre family understand painted worlds are fake.
Well, hang on. Again, not a debate, but just a point of clarification on the actual facts, is at least the actual soul of Verso also states that they're real.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting to that.
Oh, go.
I'm getting to, yeah. That was my next thing. Like, because I mentioned there was two people that mentioned that. The only other one is a soul fragment of basically child Verso, because when Verso painted this and imbued part of his soul into the canvas, it was when he was a kid. So all of this little, like, faded kid is basically the soul fragment of a child. Who also says, like, you know, to him, that everything feels real to him. And it's the same wording that Maelle's is. To her, it feels real. And they're real to her.
This is my truth.
And I find that word choice is very... yeah, it's very my truth. Yeah, they have their own truth. And I think, like, if you take the kid's soul, like the Verso soul fragment things, like, you know, like, to me, these are real. And you have, like, the full memories and basically direct copy of adult Verso who does not have this. He clearly outgrew that childish opinion of thinking that, like, it's all real. Because, I mean, like, even kids in our real worlds, it's like, I'm a dinosaur, I'm a monkey, and, like, you know, make-believe. Kids like to have fun with make-believe. That's not a very far stretch. So the only people advocating that these people are not fake are children. And I don't put a lot of stock in children's opinions when pretty much everywhere else is stating that they are not real. It is a work of fiction, mimicking the art. So it is very, very obvious, looking at the game media and how it's portraying everything, that they are not, like, people at least with a soul. The most level of life that I might be able to give them is, like, either, like, really, really advanced AI, like maybe almost like Cortana level from Halo if we want to break into a different game, which I don't believe Cortana has a soul or anything like that. They're not soul beings. Maybe at most the value of animals. It still sucks to lose them, and that's where the value of art comes into play. the best outcome would be is if Gustav never died, and we got a way where the real life people can get out of the canvas and heal, and the canvas can stay. That is the best outcome. Maybe Gustav could have helped us get there. The best outcome is not from the lanes of we got to keep all these sentient real people in the canvas alive. It's like it's a true shame to lose the last piece of Verso's like small fragment of his soul on top of that with his last piece of work. It would be a shame to lose the last piece of Verso that they. It is a very valuable piece of artwork, and it should not be done. I mean, to be frankly, Lune and Renoir pretty much kind of devastated his artwork anyway.
With the whole
war.
fracture happened because of it,
Yeah, because Verso's old canvas until like Aline kind of went in there, and like Aline went in, started painting her own life on top of all of Verso stuff. So she's already just modifying her son's work at this point and taking it to how she wants it, so she can live the life that she wants, escape the real world. She doesn't want to deal with anything. Which is also like another reason why I like the painted Verso so much. Just like when she painted a 1-to-1 copy, Verso has a very strong sense of like duty to his family, which is why like we didn't talk too much about the Axons, but one of the Axons represents Verso, which is like a lot of mass, like having mass to hide everything. So like his whole Verso just wants to be a musician. That's his whole passion. His whole family is painters. So for the sake of his family, he put on the mask of being the painter and being like a member of that family for the sake of his family. He cares deeply about them. So that strong desire, even though like throughout whole of his time of mortality, he does get suicidal from a lot of crap that happens to him. He has a bad time. Because essentially like his whole real life family are tearing themselves apart and basically dying because of him, his existence. Like he's the epicenter of their entire families of pain. So he has all the things he's physically going through, all of the emotional weight of basically like all of this stuff wouldn't be happening if I wasn't here. I'm the epicenter of everything. And then he has that strong desire from when he was painted in to like, I want to save my family. And that even kind of goes for the painted family too, because they're still in a way his family. So he desperately cares about painted Alicia, who Maelle just deletes. It's like painted Alicia's like, I don't want to live this life of pain. She's like, okay, fine, yep, you can go, and just deletes her. Doesn't even let Verso say bye or talk her out of it or anything. So Maelle's pretty unstable and fairly hypocritical.
We're all
with her things of how she treats Verso. Yeah, Verso says we're all hypocrites because they all have their, as you mentioned fairly well, like they all have their like what they say, and then like their actual like some more like they're selfish and then their selfless goals. Maelle does want to save a lot of the people of the canvas, but she also wants to, not deal with the real world. She wants escapism.
Even it's not.
Verso wants to save his family. He also wants.
It's not just those two. Even Sciel mentions at one point. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'd kill you in a heartbeat to revive my husband," but
yeah,
like she.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody has that kind of side. You can argue even Lune somewhat with, like, hating, like, how her parents raised her and treated her, but in some aspects in the early game, she acts just like her parents would.
I'd argue she has an arc where she kind of grows past that, but I do see what you're saying. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but you still have that both sides. Like, both characters have those, a lot of the characters have those dichotomies.
Except Monoco. He's just there for the party.
Yeah, Monoco is the dog. He's the loyal dog. He's great.
Just there for the feet.
So yeah. So on top, I mean, even in the endings that we get, which you didn't talk about, like how they're framed.
Well, I was going to talk about that later for me, but you feel free to now. But I was going to talk about that during my ranking because it's why my ranking went lower, and I thought I was going to save that for
Okay, yeah. I mean, you can mention that for the ranking, but still, I think it's important 100%. For the talk that. Because the last bit of added context is like how the game frames which one is quote unquote, we want to say good or bad. I think both endings are not necessarily like this one's the good or bad ending, but one's definitely like the lesser of two evils type of ending. Because Fire My Way, I've already said, the canvas survives, everybody gets out, everybody heals, they learn to deal with it.
Agrees.
They can happily go visit the canvas, and everything goes back. I think that's. Regardless of the debates out there, that's the best.
I think everyone would agree with that.
Yeah. But I mean, when we have the endings shown, it's just further proof that Renoir and Verso are correct in like what they're saying the outcome would end up being, if Maelle's like quote unquote ending happens to be, she stays, basically just becomes the new paintress of that world, and then gets stuck in there. Weird that Verso looks like he's aging. If that's anything, like maybe he's aging, and then she just makes everybody else immortal.
Again,
just kind of a crappy situation.
Not an argument, a point of clarification again, though, because we skipped past this for those that don't know. Like when Maelle wins, Verso's like, "Please kill me, please kill me, please kill me. I just want to die." And she's like,
also to stop the soul of Verso from painting.
There's an argument.
You gotta stop him. Only you can stop him.
I think that has to do with the pretending to have an altruistic motive, but we disagree on that. I think Verso is more concerned about dying than he is, because he doesn't say, "Please the boy." He says, "I don't want this life, I don't want this life." He stops arguing when push comes to shove, and Maelle does the same in the opposite direction, but push comes to shove, he stops his altruistic arguments and starts just going, "Please kill me, please kill me." But in Maelle's ending, Maelle says, as an attempt at compromise, she says, "What if you could grow old? Could you find joy then?" Basically. And then the next scene we see is an older Verso where everyone else isn't, which indicates that like she's going to not let him just die instantly, but she's going to let him live out one more lifetime and then let him die. Seems to be now whether she keeps that promise or not, but that seems to be the implication of where she's at when the ending shows up. You can tell me if I've said that incorrectly, but that's my understanding of that ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the endings are still a little bit
vague
on that, and they keep both of them thing.
They're weirdly vague on both.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yes, because when we go into the opposite ending, it's definitely it does feel a little bit more, slightly more final in the Verso's ending, because everything, the whole canvas goes away. Verso's canvas is gone, and then they just it goes to like the funeral, and it looks like, based on what they're showing, that, Renoir and Aline are reconciling. They're getting close together. Aline's recovering. At that point, they're embracing each other during the funeral, and everybody's there paying their respects. The vagueness of that point comes in. It's like, well, does Maelle truly start recovering at that point? But I believe it is framed in a point where, this is the start for the days that come after, if you will, to be able to carry on.
My wayward son.
From everything, and actually heal and move on with life. Yeah. So I almost feel like that the whole Verso's ending, fits more of that whole chant that all the expeditioners are doing for those who come after everything. Verso's ending fits that more for me.
Yeah.
Because it truly isn't, people, the canvas is laid down, painted Verso, Gustave, all them, they're gone now for Maelle, who's remaining. She's the one who comes after. And whatever she does left. She can paint more worlds, as Verso says, as she's being removed from the canvas. She can just paint more worlds. And who knows, she can maybe paint another canvas, paint Gustave, Lune, and Sciel back. We don't know.
I think there's a decent argument that at that point, those would be new people and not... Because you wouldn't have the same chroma, which seems to be a big part of actually bringing...
Quite possible.
But you're right, that the ending does get kind of vague. I do want to talk a bit more, and not as a further debate, but when I get to my rating, I wanted to point out why the tone of the endings, but I wanted to do that at the end because it ties into my rating change, if that's okay. All right.
Sure, yeah.
So,
but anyway, I'll just stop there for the sake of time. Christian, go ahead and talk to your ending.
What did you pick? You're the tiebreaker.
I chose Maelle's ending when I played it.
But do you... Whatever you chose... Where do you lean now that you've got more context? You've seen them both, too.
So, I may have to take a break.
You can't get out of this. You gotta answer. You think a baby's reasoned?
I think that I think that they definitely framed it in such a way so that there could be different points of view. So I think that I have such a hard time making decisions.
You've played the game twice.
I have not made the choice a second time.
Okay. Well, you gotta decide on this podcast right here for all time. Immortalized. You're never allowed to change your mind after this point. That's
Oh,
sarcasm, to be clear.
That's my worst fear.
No, Christian. This is not just... I'm just asking
I
where
know.
you're at right now and why. Like, you do 100% retain permission to, like, keep thinking about these things. I may change my mind later. I don't know. But, like, yeah.
I think it's clear that the point of this dichotomy and these two options are to get the audience to think about these things.
Mhm.
I think that was something very intentional that the developers put into the game. They wanted there to be this, like, well, there's not really this is 100% the best ending, or this is 100% what you should do.
They've explicitly said that, so yeah.
Thank you. So I think that I do still have a hard time condemning all of Lumière, because I do feel like people of Lumière have sentience, and kind of similar to what Dolan was saying, that it does at least feel like genocide. I had a similar example.
Yeah, but 2.5 hours of podcasting later.
Yeah. It just feels like genocide to me, because it's a whole people. They're such a complex. The people are so complex. It's not just like they all have a uniform way of thinking or anything. Like, I feel like they are more than just like an AI or an advanced program. Like, kind of like you said, Gustav being the, like, morally
the paragon.
The most like the paragon of morality in this game. It's like, if he's the paragon of morality and he isn't really a person, then does that mean that, like, where's the morality coming from then?
But you're very sympathetic to the... I'm maybe less, but you're very sympathetic to people who are on Austin's camp, though, right? Is what I'm hearing from you, also.
Yes, I completely... I see where they're coming from, because also it is, like, this is a painted world versus the, for lack of a better word, the physical or the real world.
The in-universe real world as opposed to the in-universe fictional world.
Okay, yes, we'll say that. But like, so like, I understand where you're coming from, and I am, like you said, sympathetic to that side, because it is like the painted Verso. Every aspect of his life, he has been used as a crutch by someone.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, when he was painted by Aline, he was a crutch for her. And then when Maelle came along, she's trying to do the exact same thing, use him as a crutch. And it's Lune and Verso had a conversation of, like, the world versus family. And Lune says it doesn't have to be this dichotomy. We can find other options.
Yeah.
And he said, he basically says, no, I gotta save my mama. For lack of a better word. So it's definitely a game that makes you think. Like, I do think that it is the way that the cinematics is framed. The cinematics does kind of lean one way, but the dialogue and everything doesn't necessarily lean that same way. In Verso's ending, Maelle has an SGA plush.
Yeah.
And
clearly the correct ending.
So, was that made, like, where did it come from?
It's a Kid Verso's toy. SGA is a painting of Kid Verso's toy brought into the world.
SGA is a plush.
So SGA was modeled after the plush. Okay, yeah. I was trying to wrap my head around it being the other way around. And
like,
Kid
he got
Verso
out of the
somehow,
painting.
Yeah, like Kid Verso somehow was like, let's market this. There's gotta be a way to make money off this. It's too good.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, in response to that, I need an SKA plush.
I'm sure they're either on Etsy or will be made soon.
I'll be searching.
SKA's face is a symbol of an actual real-world wine, so you could buy that wine.
I didn't know that.
Oh, he is a giant wine bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. I do think that with Maelle's ending, there is kind of some complications. Because either one, with Maelle's ending, with her bringing everybody back, either the entire world now knows that if you lose a loved one, Maelle can bring them back.
Yeah.
Or if you want to have a conversation with your great-great-grandpa, Maelle can bring them back, in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Either that,
Well,
or only the expedition team knows, and they somehow explain away to everyone how they are alive again.
well, the thing that's even more throws a wrench into this, at the risk of, is because you could argue, oh, she just ungamages people, right? You could argue that, except for Sciel's husband's there, and he didn't die from a gommage, which
Exactly.
makes things much more complicated. All just by Sciel's husband being there, you go, ooh, what does this mean? And the implications are frightening, even for a Maelle Ender supporter.
Yeah. So, like, those are some issues that I have with Maelle's ending. It's just, people are alive, but I feel like it can get very messy very quick.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
My biggest complaint, because this is where we're getting to the rankings part and why it ties into it and why I saved it. Because the game was floating around top 30 game of all time for me. Jumped up to, I think, number 8 at its height. It was my 8th. It was the top 10. Somewhere around 8, possibly even going higher. My problem with the endings isn't that, like, I picked Verso exists or whatever. Like, my problem with this game is I think it's trying to do too many things at once, and I think especially the endings, got a little too rushed to do all of them well. I think the game is very, 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 very good. But I think the rushed ending is why I have a problem. It's not just that, like, oh, I like Maelle, or whatever. It is the end, because we talked about the tone briefly. This is really important. For those that have, you go watch the endings, if you haven't, and well, go play the game first, quite frankly. But if you have and you've only watched one ending, watch the other one. Because it's baffling. People are like, there's not a good ending. Yes, there is. The developers are screaming at you that there is a good ending. And it is the Verso ending. Like, if frigging the writer and director of the game came out like on the screen and said, you were supposed to pick Verso, and then like left, it could not have been more clear, in my opinion. I know they talk about it being a halvesy thing, but it is so good. The Verso's ending has uplifting, soft music. There are warm colors. Everyone's hugging each other. You see the friends wave at you goodbye. You know, like, so long, farewell, thanks for everything. Like, it is the most warm. I know it's kind of bittersweet, but like, it is one of the happiest moments in the entire game, right? My issue is it does not grapple at all with the sentience of the characters. But we'll get to that. And then Maelle's ending, meanwhile, is one of the most unnerving sequences in the entire game. It is like all black and white. There are these horrific, awful long pauses. Everything is at a Dutch angle, tilted sideways, awkward. All the characters, even out of character. Like, even when she's mad, has Sciel ever looked so serious or grim as she does in that final scene? Everyone is looking at Verso, staring him down. His hands tremble in fear at the fate of what's become. And then a giant piano sting happens, and it zooms in on Maelle's face, and you see the disfigurement as she's falling prey to the darkness of the canvas. You killed her! It's your fault! You're the reason she's dead! And that's Maelle's ending. Yeah, no, but it's like that extreme. And it's like, that would be fine.
Just saying, I loved the stare that Verso gives her back.
No, but like, it's that extreme, and I don't mind in a vacuum. Very, very quickly, there's a game called Final Fantasy Tactics Advance that has a very similar theme to what I think Clair Obscur is going for, which is that you cannot escape real problems through art. You really actually have to face them down, and that's the healthier thing to do. You can use art as a place to recuperate and grow and learn, but in the end, it's only valuable if you go back and face the real world. I think that's what they were going for. The problem is Tactics Advance, the game I was talking about, goes out of its way to expressly state that, like, the fantasy world not only is explicitly not real, but that, like, where did the characters come from that seem so real? There are real people that the magic has overwritten to appear to be different, like, characters, right? Like, the people in the world of Tactics Advance are just humans that have been, now you're an elf, now you're a zombie, you know, that kind of a thing. Like, but they are real people underneath that you aren't killing. In fact, by getting rid of the fantasy world, you're actually bringing them back to their normal selves and not overwriting their personalities. You're kind of like, they kind of got painted over and you unpaint them over. So it's explicitly the moral thing to do. And I think in that game it works really well with that theme. I think the problem was they were trying to tackle so many themes at once that they kind of didn't consider that they made the characters pretty explicitly have sentience. I know you disagree, Austin, but even a lot of people that support the Verso ending do go, well, yeah, they're sentient, but it's still the right thing for the family. And I feel like my big problem is most people that pick the Verso ending didn't pick it because they don't think they have sentience, but they were swayed by cinematography rather than... I don't think this is your case. I want to be very explicit, Austin. I don't think you think this. But a lot of the people I've seen online that pick the Verso ending, similarly, like most people that pick Maelle ending, like, escapism's great. I think it's stupid. I think a lot of people that pick the Verso ending are going, I don't care that they're people. There's happy music in Verso's ending, so that means it's right. And they don't grapple with, are these people are real? You've grappled with it. I land somewhere different than you have, but you've at least grappled with it. It bothers me that the game doesn't seem to grapple with are they sentient or not in a real... I know there's a little bit of argument, but, like, that's why it went down. It wasn't just, oh, Verso's ending is the happy ending. It is that they spent all this time, I think, laying down very good evidence that the people in the painting have internal worlds. Maybe they're not the same as a human, but they're at least more valuable than animals, I think. I think they're as valuable as humans, but that's... I think the game goes so far as to be like, these are real people, even if they're not... even if they're not human, but they are real. They have taken on a life on their own. You were talking about art having meaning. There's a phrase that I think becomes literal in this game, which is that art takes on a life of its own. These characters continue to exist outside of the gaze of the painters. And to go back to that message, which the game is very clearly saying escapism wrong, I think it doesn't take the time to grapple with the sentience it has sort of accidentally given these characters. And I think it needed to do more to either clearly show that they aren't, they needed to be less real, in a sense, or they needed to grapple more clearly with the fact that this is a genocide and make the endings less clear. I feel like they just tacked on sad music and sad visuals onto what would otherwise be a happy ending. And they tacked on happy ending and visuals and didn't bother to deal with the complications because they either ran out of time or didn't want to deal with it. That's why I'm frustrated. It's not just escapism bad, I don't like. It is that I felt like the endings were so rushed they didn't take the time to actually support the themes that the cinematography seems to be laying down. Because of that, it lowered from 9 to 16. Still an A+ game. I think we're all A on the ranking system, A through F, right? Is there any disagreement on that? Like, it's an A game. Still, I just thought it was going to be top 10, and I think I even agree with the moral they're telling it, but I think they rushed it at the very end and kind of accidentally made their message a little bit sloppier than they meant to be and didn't quite think of the implications of their world building. And not because of the message they were trying to say, but because I think they kind of fumbled the telling of it at the very tail end, it lowered a bit for me. Still, top 20 games. Number 16 for me. Love it. But that's why. Because even if you're right, Austin, I feel like it doesn't address so many questions and important things because it was in such a hurry. And if I'm right, it also just kind of tacks on a upsetting stinger at the end without really any rhyme or reason. So no matter who's right, that's why it got lowered. It's not just because I think I'm right or I think you're right. no matter who's right, I think they tripped just a little bit at the very last cutscene of the game for me. So, but one cutscene having some spooky implications either way is not enough to degrade the masterpiece that this game is, which is why gotta be an A+ for me, even despite that complaint I have about the ending.
Going on my side, I do have one more ending thing that I want to mention. It's like more of like a little fun thing about it for me. So the other thing that I thought about is like if I entertain and say like, okay, let me just look at this in the lens of Dolan is 100% correct. Everybody here has sentience. If I look at that same angle, I still think that overall I probably would still lean Verso ending. And the reason why I said that, and I know I talked to you about it at some point, but this is like the first game that I have played where I have encountered a character and have like actually looked at them and be like, this is the first time I like really relate to a character with like how they like think and work, which has never happened before. Because we've had a lot of random fun conversation where like what character do you think I most resemble, stuff like that. Like I literally could never have think of a character that I probably
you relate
resemble
to that hard.
More. And like for you, it's Axel. You like Axel. Axel is your resemblance. I never had like my Axel for me in games until this particular game, which was a big shock to me. The way that Verso thinks a lot, like especially like with how Lune calls out thinking like false dichotomies and things like that, and like the very strong will for like the family being extremely important and willing to sacrifice up your family, I resonate with that very, very deeply. I do think a lot very similar, like the false dichotomies. You've probably caught me thinking like that all the time. I am very thinking that way. So even with all that thing, if I was like down in that situation, even if it meant like, hey, these people are going to die, like if I had that same level of commitment and attachment to my real family, I would probably choose them over the world.
I think that's an interesting thing I want to point out. The ending, I saw that as what do you, the player, as a human being, support? And you empathize so hard with Verso that you're like, I'm Verso. Not literally, obviously, but like, you approach that in a different way, is like, less a clinical exercise and what the most moral option, blah, 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 blah. I approached it very much like Lune, early Lune, might have. And you were like, no.
When I first picked the first ending choice, that was before I made the connection that I was like very similar to Verso. That was mainly more like
subconsciously, though, I think.
Probably subconsciously, but I was very like at the moment the Act 2 plot twist happened, I was very firm like, okay, this whole world's fake. We got to save the real people. It was never really a debate. It was all the signs of everything the game told me was very clear, no sentence. So, like, it wasn't even a hesitant choice. It was just like, Verso's clearly correct here. Let's move on. It was only like after I started like playing through more and then like digging into like each individual character because I was so into the game. I wanted to know more about everybody, how they take theories, stuff. So I'm like, I really think a lot like Verso. It's like even, and then we have to talk like even if it was like everybody had sentience, I probably still would go with Verso. It would probably hurt a lot more and be way worse of a feeling, but probably still be what I would choose. That all being said, this game is number 3 for me.
Of all games,
on
right?
my list. Of all games, it goes KOTOR, Halo 3, and now
Christmas
Clair
episode
Obscure
is already out of date. Didn't even take till June.
Yup. Clair Obscure. It is, as I said, A+. Very great game. I've beaten it so many times at this point. Great game. Christian?
Oh, that's awesome. Just to prepare you guys, I'm gonna rank this at an A. I know I'm the odd man out, but it's an A. I'm a big fan of this game. I think when you look at this game with just how beautiful it is, I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, but the music, the soundtrack of this game, I view this more as a piece of art and less as just a game, because there is just so much. Yeah, exactly. It's an artsy art about art with art and game art. So there you go. There's your quote for this episode. That can be the caption. That's gonna be the name of this episode. It's an artsy art game about art.
Maybe in the description.
Yeah. But yeah, I love this game. It is definitely in my top 10. I've been thinking through my top 10. I don't know exactly what number it is. Part of me thinks maybe an 8. Part of me thinks maybe a 3. But there's also an opening at 6, so I don't know. I'll need to do a better job at my rankings, clearly. So I think this is definitely a game that I will enjoy again. Like I said, I'm currently on my second playthrough. Maybe someday I will defeat Simon. But
I believe.
Right now, Simon says it's not happening. I've been waiting for that. I've been holding on to that all episode. I feel so much better. Okay. So yeah, it's a great game. If you haven't played it, please do. And yeah.
Why the heck are you 2.5-ish hours into a podcast about it if you haven't played it? You must really think we're swell. Hi, Mom Swim class. Thanks. Oh, man.
All right, well, I think that pretty much can cover us for today. I really thank everybody for tuning in and listening to us. This is Austin signing out.
I'm Dolan.
I am French.
Oh, gosh.
Au revoir, mon ami.
Oh, man. All right, thanks for joining us for Season 3.
Thanks, everybody, for watching, and please tune in to the podcasts that come in after.
We did it! We did it!
We did it.
William, Expedition 60. They mocked us when we said the human body is the strongest of them all. We trained relentlessly, and now our bodies have achieved the pinnacle of human performance, with which we are able to crush our enemies. We are so much more agile and aerodynamic without the heavy uniforms constraining our glorious muscles. With Leslie's unstoppable training regime, we are impervious. That's how we were able to charge through that ghostly Gamage barrier and reach the Paintress. But it seems we've been wrong about what she is. The Paintress is just as trapped as we. The real terror lies beneath the monolith. The rest of Expedition 60 marched on to confront him, while I was tasked to warn Lumière. But it seems I might have run out of time. One last swim separates me from Lumière, but even with my mighty muscles, I don't know if I can outswim the Gamage. So here I write my final message. Bare naked muscles will save the world. And don't waste time on the Paintress. Aim for the bottom of the monolith.